My fault about that. As you guys can see, I am in a different space, so I'm sorry about that. All right, guys. So I had the menu up, showing you guys like what we're gonna go live about, and what we're gonna be looking at. So let me put the menu up so you guys can kind of see what we're gonna be looking at. All right, so those are pretty much our clips for the day. When you guys come in the live stream, say what's up. I appreciate you. Good morning. Happy Monday. Say where you're watching from. Most of all, hit the like button for me because it does a ton for the algorithm. It does a ton for the channel. I appreciate you guys. So we're going to jump into the first news clip. Apparently, we got a U.S. couple that has ties to the D.C. shooter. Now, the D.C. shooter would have been the Afghani refugee who's been working with the CIA. These are all the facts I have so far. Apparently there's a couple out in Washington State that has some ties to him because when he first arrived in the United States with his family, I'm not sure how many people are in his family. I have to look that part up. But I know that this couple actually housed him, I believe, for some time. And they've been getting a lot of backlash since people have found that out. So we're going to play that first clip, and then we're going to come back and react to some of that.
Just days following the shocking attack that left two newly sworn-in National Guard soldiers wounded on the streets of Washington, D.C., attention has shifted not only to the suspect, Rahmanullah Lakanwal, but also to the American couple who once opened their home to him. Stanley and Valerie Creighton, a rich pair living in a $2.7 million home in Bellingham, Washington State, are now under intense public scrutiny. The couple reportedly housed the Lakanwal family for 2 months back in 2021, shortly after their arrival in the United States under Operation Allies Welcome, the federal program established during the Afghanistan withdrawal. According to archived screenshots circulating online, the Creightons described the Afghan family as truly genuine, kind people, and even launched a fundraiser on their behalf. In that now-deleted GoFundMe post, the couple wrote, "Hi, this is Stan and Val. Rahmanullah and Camila have 5 wonderful boys. This is an opportunity for you to help a truly wonderful family." The fundraiser stated the family had arrived with nothing and was in need of basic household items. But after Lakanwal was identified as the suspect in Wednesday's shooting, that fundraiser vanished, and with it, a wave of questions surfaced. Online commentators began digging into the Creightons' background. Some, including far-right political activist Laura Loomer, highlighted their history of Democratic political donations and their broader involvement in refugee sponsorship efforts. Loomer publicly questioned why the couple had raised money for the family and called for authorities to pay Stan and Val a visit to understand the extent of their support. These claims, while widely shared, remain allegations made on social media. Meanwhile, more details about Lakanwal himself have emerged. Once a member of Afghan Special Forces who served alongside U.S. troops, he had worked as an Amazon Flex driver in the U.S., though his last delivery was reportedly in August. Friends and relatives told journalists that he struggled with trauma from his years in Afghanistan, describing him as unable to tolerate the sight of blood and the wounded. Neighbors said the family mostly kept to themselves. The shooting in D.C. on Wednesday ended only when an unarmed National Guard major, armed with nothing but a pocket knife, reportedly rushed towards the gunfire and confronted the suspect as he attempted to reload. However, the horror that unfolded right before that claimed the life of National Guard member Sarah Beckstrom, while Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition. And as investigators search for motive, public debate continues. What responsibility, if any, do those who once helped Lakanwal bear? For now, the Creightons have remained silent, while the nation searches for answers.
So, I mean, it seems like that this family had good intentions when they took them in, right? Definitely, I would say on the liberal side. Not that it matters that much, but I'm just going to say you might have not seen someone on the so conservative side doing this so much. But it seems like initially they had great intentions. They just wanted to help the family out. I think they came with 5 boys. They said that they were in need of all types of like kitchen utensils and, you know, household goods. So they were really there just to kind of help them out. Amid the DC shooting, it looks like they've gotten a lot of backlash since then. And I mean, rightfully so. Like when people find this out, especially with the current administration we have, I'm not surprised that people are saying things about, you know, what's going on, why would you guys do something like this? I wouldn't even be shocked if some people said it was their fault. So it's just very interesting to me to see how this is playing out. I know that there were lots of families that were doing this for the refugees when they first started coming to America. So it's not like this family is the first family that's ever done that. There have been people that have done it before. I just think there's a highlight now on this gentleman and his family because what he did in Washington D.C. and one of the guardsmen actually have died. So now there's a spotlight on him for sure, and which in return will put a spotlight on the family that housed him when he first came to America. I mean, it seems like they had good intentions. It doesn't seem like they were involved in anything. It doesn't seem like they would be happy to know that the gentleman did something like this. So I kind of feel bad that the family's getting backlash about it, but at the same time, it's not surprising. You know, with the kind of administration we have in place right now and the way people just feel about immigration, certain people being inside the country, you got the rise of racist content, a lot of YouTubers reacting to things like that. So this is not too shocking to me. It's just unfortunate. Let's go on to the next clip, guys.
It's this beautiful car out there, and all the kids are like, that's it?
Oh, hell.
All right, so this is Keith Edwards. Shout out to Keith Edwards. He's a channel favorite. We react to Keith on the channel often. I'm just going to say this to this clip. I'm going to let it play, but I did not agree with Keith wholeheartedly on this clip. Sometimes this is some stuff that I see on the left that I just don't like that much, and it does seem like there's a little bit of pandering here going on. So Mike Johnson, he is not mimicking or making fun of, you know, of an older black gentleman. What he's doing is he's just saying what the black gentleman actually told him when he asked for some advice, and he's repeating it. And I guess some people kind of took that and ran with it. I wasn't offended by this. I don't think it was an offensive gesture. But hey, to each his own. So let's listen to what Edward has to say.
The Cajun Queen herself, Mike Johnson, is in the news because I don't know what's going on. These MAGA men, when they get in trouble, they bring out the women. Mike Johnson might not have a beard, but he's definitely still wearing one. And if you know what a beard is, I invite you to look it up. Now, Mike Johnson, as I said, was in this interview with Katie Miller, who, by the way, why does she have a podcast? I'm not complaining because this shit is cringe and it's fun to watch, but it is like everyone's like the left needs to figure out content and the left needs to blah, blah, blah. Maybe not so much because listen, the thing is Katie Miller has a shitty podcast and these people will go on it. Okay, so this is such an aside. Okay, let's get into this though because Mike Johnson answered some questions, some hard-hitting questions from Katie Miller. And some reason, like, you know, these softball podcast interviews, sometimes they'll be the ones where they hang themselves because they're so relaxed that they do insane shit like this, where Mike Johnson acted out an impression of a black man.
So when I was a state rep in Louisiana, they did an annual contest to find out who is the longest married couple in Louisiana. And so it turned out this elderly black couple in my district was the longest married. They'd been married 82 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I get to go and present to them a certificate from the governor and balloons and all that on Valentine's Day. So I go to their house. They live in a small home in a rural part of my district, and a big happy family. I mean, they had 40 people there. Yeah. There were children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren.
I went with you.
You went with me?
Yes.
Mr. Player, his name, he was 104, and Mrs. Player was 99. And so, of course, we want to ask him marital advice. What's the secret to a happy marriage? So I lean in. And he says, lean in real close. I said, yes, sir. He said, it's 2 things. He said, let her think she's the boss. Yes, sir. and buy her a new car every 3 years. All right. And then we looked out the window.
And she had a shiny she
Cadillac.
didn't drive it. And she had a beautiful new car.
I don't think she had driven in like 9 years or something, but this is a beautiful car out there, and all the kids were like, that's it, that's the truth. And so, Mr. Player, Kelly is long overdue on the car. Okay, but she could.
Man.
Dude, I think this is hilarious. Like, Keith's face looks mortified, but it's not a big deal to me. And he's going to go on to say, you know, I'm not a person of color, but this is just cringe. And I'm just like, dude, I mean, Keith, I think this is a reach here a little bit. I don't see how that was cringe. Like, he probably didn't even sound like the black guy because he's white and he's trying to mock the black guy, right? But he's trying to just repeat what the guy said to him. What was the advice? He said, this many years of marriage, what's some advice you could give me? And Mike Johnson just repeated it. So the fact that Keith is like, you know, he's pandering a little bit. He's like, oh, this is cringe. He's making fun of a black guy. I'm like, dude, I don't really take it like that. But I guess I kind of see what he's trying to do here. I really don't like this type of race baiting, but let's keep watching.
I don't know. I just think that's not okay. I mean, I'm not a person of color, so I don't think it's for me to say. Something about that felt wrong. I don't know. Now, I also think what's wrong is, what is this lady's lipstick? Matching the lipstick with your bright orange pants. It literally looks like a gay boy and his fag hag best friend. I'm going to say it. I can say it. I'm gay. If you don't know I'm gay, I can say that. Okay. Now, Mike Johnson, his wife also kind of threw him under the bus. Here's how.
Most often wrong about.
Oh dear, do we have enough time?
Also, I can say it. I'm gay. If you don't know I'm gay. Matching the lipstick with your bright orange pants. It literally looks like a gay boy and his fag hag best friend. I'm gonna say it. I can say it. I'm gay.
Yeah, Keith can get away with this because he is gay. I just think it's hilarious. He said a gay boy with his fag hag best friend, and that's his wife. So I think that's hilarious. Dude, what is up with the grinder jokes with Mike Johnson? There has to be like some running joke that I'm just not aware of. Like, every time I play Mike Johnson on the channel or I react to something by him, people are always like, oh, there goes Grinder Mike or Mike Johnson's Grinder account. And I'm like, dude, why are people always saying he's on Grinder? So I'm going to have to find this information out because this is like a running joke about Mike Johnson that I actually am not familiar with.
If you don't know I'm gay, I can say that. Okay. Now Mike Johnson his wife also kind of threw him under the bus. Here's how.
Most often wrong about.
Oh dear, do we have enough time? How long something's going to take him? I would say.
She says I overestimate my ability to.
Overestimates his ability to get things done and underestimates maybe how much time it will take. So he says, I should be able to do this in 30 minutes. And then here we are 2 hours later. It's like, no.
Well, she told the truth there because here's what Mike Johnson thought about a healthcare plan on October 23rd.
Last month, Mike Johnson said that his party had a healthcare plan and it was ready to go. Listen to this.
If the government reopened tonight, would Republicans have a plan to address the Obamacare subsidies?
Yes.
We have
proposals to. We could have that ready immediately. Yes.
Your wallet sucks. That's why we invented the Ridge Wallet. Hey, I'm Daniel, one of the founders of Ridge.
Well, it has been more than a month since that interview, and still there is no plan. Remember at this moment, late John McCain and his famous thumbs down that killed the Republican replacement to Obamacare, that was 8 years ago. That means Republicans had 8 years to come up with an alternative, and still, there's nothing. So after that McCain moment, Trump tweeted that lawmakers should let Obamacare implode, and then they'll be forced to create a new plan. And earlier this month, he posted that Obamacare, quote, sucks. But it turns out that the centerpiece of the Trump plan is to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Well, that's something the Democrats had demanded during the shutdown.
It's beyond parody. It's beyond parody. But she was right. She was right. Mike Johnson does overestimate how long things can take. No, Mike Johnson actually sought an uncommon covenant marriage. This is the type of union that creates a binding commitment between the pair, but is most notable. No, it's beyond parity. It's beyond parity. But she was right. She was right. Mike Johnson does overestimate how long things can take. No, Mike Johnson.
Okay, so right here, it appears like they have some type of information on Mike. I'm going to read this because I'm wondering if this has anything to do with the running joke when people are always like, grinder Mike. So let's see what this says. I can't see the whole thing. All right, I'm going to read this up so you guys can read it as well. If you can't hear me, you have a chance to read it. The pair sought out an uncommon covenant marriage. This type of union creates a binding commitment between the pair, but is most notable for...
Actually sought an uncommon covenant marriage. This is the type of union that creates a binding commitment between the pair, but is most notable for what little wiggle room it has for divorce. It's a rare agreement and one that is not allowed in the majority of states in America, probably due to a strict contract, though it's a face of unity and loyalty, and it's perfectly in line with the ultra-conservative Republicans' image. It may be the marriage's close alignment with submission, rather than its everlasting love that drew his attention. So Mike Johnson is a creepy-ass marriage that does not give the woman many rights, and it's interesting because they do it for ultra-conservative reasons, but then Mike Johnson had this to say about attending church.
Do you go to church every single Sunday?
I wish. We used to make it almost every Sunday when we were in one place.
In real life.
We try to go as much as possible now when we're in town and wherever we are. We do our best to
So last Sunday we all went together, we went to it, and I had to go to the late service because I did the Sunday shows in the morning, Fox News Sunday, and then run into everybody and go. And we try to make it a priority. Our kids know even if the schedule prevents us from doing it, they know that their faith is our priority, you know. And that's the important thing.
How is your faith your priority if you're not making going to church a priority in your life? That doesn't make sense to me.
Now that's crazy to me. It's crazy for Keith. It's crazy for Keith Edwards, a gay guy, to say to this straight couple, how is your faith a priority if you're not going to church? It's funny because I was thinking the same thing, but I'm glad the gay guy said it instead of me. Shout out to you, Keith. Good catch.
At all. But it makes total sense. Because that is truly the crux of MAGA. It's do what I say, not what I do. It's do what I say, not what I do. It makes total sense to me. Now, Mike Johnson also, his wife, said this about men.
Men and women are different in this way, is that men can compartmentalize things.
Men's brains are like waffles.
Yes.
They have little compartments, and they can think on one little compartment at a time and close it. And men actually have a compartment that has nothing in it. So when you ask him, what are you thinking about, and he says nothing, he means it. He really is thinking about it.
He's not thinking about the Roman Empire.
There's that too. But women, we cannot do that. We are always thinking, in fact, our brains are like spaghetti. Because it's the meatballs, the pasta, the sauce. We're thinking of all of it. And we can't stop thinking.
These people are so strange. So strange. We're the weirdest people running this country. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's weird. The weird interaction. Now, they're also getting... This is the thing that went super viral, is that Mike Johnson...
I mean, honestly, Keith, she's making a point here. Mike Johnson's wife, she's not lying about that. I like the way she articulated it, though, because at first when she said women's minds are like spaghetti, I was like, where's she going to go with this? But then when she said, you know, it's the pasta, and it's the sauce, and it's the meatballs, and it's the ingredient, and she's like, we're thinking about all of it, and we can't stop thinking. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty spot on if I have to recall my life with my 5 sisters growing up. I would say, yeah, that's pretty spot on. And then when she says about Mike, like, you know, if he says that he's really not thinking about nothing, he's not thinking about anything, I would say 85% of the time that's true. Maybe 90, right? There is that little 5 to 10% gray area where we are thinking something, but we're not going to tell you. All right, let's keep watching.
When she reached out to touch him, he kind of recoiled. Watch this.
long something's going to take him, I would say.
She says that over it.
Okay, so they slowed it down here. Where like she touched him, he was like woo, and he like, pulled away. I don't know, man. They got a kid who's a person of color. They adopted when they were only 11 years older than this child. So I think they were 25. The child was 14, something like that. And it's a weird setup. It's a weird setup. I don't pretend to know what's going on in their lives, but it certainly doesn't seem normal, does it? At all. That was a very strange interview. It does also like truly like maybe the editor can put something here. They're just never close to each other. There's no closeness. There's no like. She's obviously she's just centered, and he's like trying to move away from her. So that's also it's just a very strange interview. Very strange. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please hit like. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'll see you soon.
All right, shout out to Keith Edwards. Appreciate you, Keith, for your commentary. Yeah, I think Mike Johnson, he goes on record to say how important his faith is a lot of the time, and how him and his wife kind of have their life set up, and what their life is like with their children, and kind of what their children have been up to. Like I said, the running joke with Mike Johnson and Grindr, I have to do some more research on it, but you guys do not let me live that down at all. It never fails. When I play Mike Johnson on this channel, people are like, oh, there goes Grindr Mike. We got to go check Grindr Mike's account. And I'm just like, dude, this guy's really on Grindr? They're like, people know about it? All right, guys, let's go on to the next clip. All right, so we got Mr. Bill O'Reilly up next, channel favorite. We react to Bill often on the channel. Bill is covering Chicago, some of the madness that's going on in Illinois, and he believes that Chicago does not care about justice based on some of the things that are happening over there. Is he wrong? Some citizens in Chicago feel like, no, he's right. Chicago doesn't care about justice. Others feel indifferent. So let's take a listen.
While everyone else is blinded by NVIDIA, he's been producing over 15,000 of these devices every single. He's a violent person who's going to hurt or.
Chicago, awful. 26-year-old Bethany McGee on the L. He owes mass transportation from O'Hare Airport into town. Guy comes up, dumps inflammatory material on her, sets her on fire, screaming, "Burn, bitch." Okay. This poor woman is in prison, scarred for the rest of her life. In a hospital. Scarred for the rest of her life. The guy who allegedly did his name Lawrence Reed. Arrested 72 times, 15 priors. He's got an active beef against him now. A judge lets him out on the street with 15 prior convictions, 72 arrests. Lets him walk. No bail. So he burns the woman up. The judge's name is Teresa Molina. Okay, Cook County Circuit Court. She's elected. 2020. Still there. Still there. Both the prosecutor, everybody said, please, Judge, don't let him out. He's a violent person who's going to hurt or kill somebody. I said, I don't care what you say. I'm letting him out. What will happen to the judge? Nothing. This is exactly the same thing that happened in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay? Back, remember? The Ukrainian woman who was knifed and killed by a guy who had 15 priors? Well, at least North Carolina passed Irina's law, where there is a bunch of stuff that can happen now to judges who allow these people, violent people, out. At least they did that. But the judge who let the guy out, still sitting there. Here's the kicker on the Chicago situation. You will never have in that state, Illinois, and I'm sorry to report this, because I know most people in Cook County and most people in Illinois are good people. Your state is gone. It doesn't care about justice at all. So the feds moved in, and they charged this Lawrence Reed with a federal crime of terrorism. They moved in because they knew the state of Illinois, even in the face of this guy burning this woman, the state of Illinois would not prosecute the guy to the full extent of the law. So the feds have to come in and do it. You want far left? People of Cook County, you voted for this woman. You put her on that bench. Really makes me sick. American homeowners, the FBI has been warning all of us. Use the link below. That's hooked and killed by a guy. Guy comes up, dumps inflammatory material on her, sets her on fire, screaming, "Burn, bitch!" Okay. This poor woman is in prison, scarred for the rest of her in a hospital, scarred for the rest of her life. The guy who allegedly did his name Lawrence Reed, arrested 72 times, 15 priors. He's got an active beef against him now. A judge lets him out on the street with 15 prior convictions, 72 arrests. Lets him walk. No bail. So he burns the woman up. The judge's name is Teresa Molina. Okay, Cook County Circuit Court. She's elected. 2020. Still there? Still there. Both the prosecutor, everybody said, please, Judge, don't let him out. He's a violent person who's going to hurt or kill somebody. Judge said, I don't care what you say. I'm letting him out. What will happen to the judge? Nothing. This is exactly...
Something should happen to the judge, though. I don't like that. Like, and this is where it's like... Look, the guy is the race that he is. It wouldn't matter if he was white. I wouldn't like it either. My thing is that what did this judge get out of letting this person off? Like, I don't understand. It doesn't matter what race they are. Okay, the guy's a black guy right now, whatever, he's a black guy. But it's like, what would you get out of... The judge is not black or white. She seems to be Hispanic. What did she get out of letting this guy off? How do you have to prosecute and all of these people saying, no, don't let him off. He's a violent man. Don't do it. Why do you think she let him out anyway? Do you think it was because it's that whole... oh, you know, the system's trying to hold a black guy down, so I'm just going to let him out? Yeah, does the system do things like that? I would say absolutely in some cases. But, I mean, what does he have, like 50 arrests? We're not talking about somebody who has 1 or 2 arrests. Now, then I would think there's some type of injustice definitely happening. But over 50 arrests, they're all violent, and he has a history of being a violent man. You have the prosecutor in half the courtroom saying, no, judge, don't let him out, and she does it anyway. It almost seems like she did it on purpose. I don't know. You guys tell me.
The same thing that happened in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay? That, remember? The Ukrainian woman who was knifed and killed by a guy who had 15 priors? Well, at least North Carolina passed Irina's law, where there is a bunch of stuff that can happen now to judges who allow these people, violent people, out. At least they did that. But the judge who let the guy out, still sitting there. Here's the kicker on the Chicago situation. You will never have in that state, Illinois, and I'm sorry to report this, because I know most people in Cook County and most people in Illinois are good people. Your state is gone. It doesn't care about justice at all. So the feds moved in, and they charged this Lawrence Reed with a federal crime of terrorism. They moved in because they knew the state of Illinois, even in the face of this guy burning this woman, the state of Illinois would not prosecute the guy to the full extent of the law. So the feds have to come in and do it. You want far left? People of Cook County, you voted for this one. You put her on that bench. Really makes me sick. American homeowners, the FBI has been warning all of us about a type of real estate fraud called title theft.
We've helped thousands of veterans get jobs in tech, making 10K or more a month without spending 4 years in college. All right, y'all. So
third world countries.
All right, guys, shout out to the Miss Now channel. They're covering Jasmine Crockett. She's closer to running, so she says I'm closer to a yes than I am to a no. I know she was in a lot of doubt because of the redistricting that's happening in Texas, so it wasn't looking great for her as far as the numbers, but it looks like something's changed because now in the last couple of days she says that she's closer to yes to running than she is not running. So we're going to take a look at what Jasmine Crockett has to say. Let's take a listen.
We begin with President Trump intensifying his immigration crackdown after an Afghan national was accused of shooting 2 National Guard members in D.C. The day after the shooting, Trump posted on Truth Social. He plans to permanently pause migration from what he calls all third world countries. He did not specify which countries he believes fall under such a label or how that ban would work. He also appeared to threaten people who were already U.S. citizens. Trump wrote that he would denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility. Deport foreign nationals he deems non-compatible with Western civilization. Certainly some choice language. Hours later, the State Department paused all asylum decisions and halted visa processing for people from Afghanistan. These moves come amid growing backlash against Trump's treatment of people not born in the U.S. Yesterday in New York City, several protesters were arrested after demonstrators blocked federal immigration agents inside a Manhattan parking garage. An hours-long standoff that appeared to disrupt a planned ICE raid in the neighborhood. But it's not just New York. At a congressional hearing in Los Angeles, dozens testified about the fear and upheaval gripping immigrant communities across Southern California after months of raids by federal agents. Here's how Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who's sitting right next to us, framed the administration's immigration enforcement.
The idea that someone ran and said that I will get rid of the bad guys, yet we know more than 50% of the people that are currently being detained in custody have no criminal records at all. Zero. Nada. So tell me why you are taking those people out of their communities. They are our neighbors, they are our friends, and frankly, they contribute to the fabric of this country.
Make this country great, not your thuggish ICE agents.
Joining us now is the person you just heard, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. She also serves on the House Oversight Committee. She's a busy lady. I want to hear about the stories that you heard when you were on the ground in Los Angeles for this hearing that we just teased, about the stories that immigrants, I imagine some who are not U.S. citizens and some who actually might be U.S. citizens, and what they had to tell you guys.
Yeah, so first of all, we heard the story of a U.S. citizen who was on her way to work. And as she tried to tell them, listen, I'm a U.S. citizen, they would not listen, and she was taken into custody. We also heard about just the conditions, the horrific conditions that human beings are being kept in, the unsanitary conditions. But here's the reality. We went to L.A., I've been to Chicago to hear stories about, how much force is being used when people are being detained. But, I can go right home, and I know the stories of my constituents. I know about a young lady who's only 21 years old and had consistently showed up to her appointments, and she was nabbed at one of those appointments. Her family said, make sure she's got her diabetic medication.
They would not take it. Ultimately, 5 days later, when they didn't give her medication, they had to take her to a hospital. They then put her back into custody, and ultimately there were issues with literally, I won't get so graphic, but involving urine and some other things.
Feel free to get graphic.
Well, there were allegations that because they were actually depriving them of water, that they literally were having to drink their own urine. This can't be America. But obviously, in Trump's America, this is exactly what he wants. And the idea that one person can get out of line and commit such a horrific crime as shooting two of our National Guardsmen that never, ever asked to be here. In fact, we know the young lady that lost her life specifically
also appeared to threaten from people who are already U.S. citizens. Trump wrote that he would
Even though you guys can go back and watch this, I still want to replay it so you guys can read it, because I didn't get a chance to read that. So let me go back and play that for you guys.
denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, deport foreign nationals he deems non-compatible with Western civilization. Certainly some choice language. Hours later, the State Department paused all asylum decisions and halted visa processing for people from Afghanistan. These moves come amid growing backlash against Trump's treatment of people not born in the U.S. Yesterday in New York City, several protesters were arrested after demonstrators blocked federal immigration agents inside a Manhattan parking garage. An hours-long standoff that appeared to disrupt a planned ICE raid in the neighborhood. But it's not just New York. At a congressional hearing in Los Angeles, dozens testified about the fear and upheaval gripping immigrant communities across Southern California after halted visa processing for people from Afghanistan. These moves come amid growing backlash against Trump's treatment of people not born in the U.S. Yesterday in New York City, several protesters were arrested after demonstrators blocked federal immigration agents inside a Manhattan parking garage. An hours-long standoff that appeared to disrupt a planned ICE raid in the neighborhood. But it's not just New York. At a congressional hearing in Los Angeles, dozens testified about the fear and upheaval gripping immigrant communities across Southern California after months of raids.
I mean, she's right about this. This isn't just happening in New York. This is where I've talked about this on the last live stream, where I said, you know, I'm not exactly sure if this administration knew what they were getting ready to hand out, or what they were getting ready to get back from their handout. But yeah, you got people in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, a lot of major cities where they're stopping ICE. Like they're getting some of them are getting in fights with ICE. Some of them are destroying ICE's property. Some of them are cursing ICE out and fighting with them, and they're getting arrested. And this is because why? I said because even though there's a mandate for President Trump to do some of the stuff that he's doing, he's still going to piss people off when people see ICE manhandling women, manhandling children, bothering people who aren't committing vicious acts of violence, right? When we find out that it's a person that's done that, as you can see, most American people do not care. But when you are just bothering people just for the sake of bothering them, you tend to piss people off. So that's exactly what we're seeing now.
By federal agents. Here's how Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who's sitting right next to us, framed the administration's immigration enforcement.
Spam in a taco. Pork favor. Sizzle pork and
The idea that someone ran and said that I will get rid of the bad guys, yet we know more than 50% of the people that are currently being detained in custody have no criminal records at all. Zero. Nada. So tell me why you are taking those people out of their communities. They are our neighbors, they are our friends, and frankly, they contribute to the fabric of this country. They are what make this country great, not your thuggish ICE agents.
Joining us now is the person you just heard, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. She also serves on the House Oversight Committee. She's a busy lady. I want to hear about the stories that you heard when you were on the ground in Los Angeles for this hearing that we just teased, about the stories that immigrants, I imagine some who are not U.S. citizens and some who actually might be U.S. citizens, and what they had to tell you guys.
Yeah, so first of all, we heard the story of a U.S. citizen who was on her way to work, and as she tried to tell them, listen, I'm a U.S. citizen, they would not listen, and she was taken into custody. We also heard about just the conditions, the horrific conditions that human beings are being kept in, the unsanitary conditions. But here's the reality. We went to LA. I've been to Chicago to hear.
So now I'm going to try to not let this upset me, but here's why it gets me upset. Here's why this upsets me, right? Because now we hear Jasmine Crockett talking about the inhumane conditions, right? And some people are like, no, you know, we're in America. There's no inhumane conditions. But didn't we hear a prosecutor, I think it was an attorney, say that there are actually inhumane conditions, because when Caroline Leavitt, right now, this is White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, when her, I guess, brother's wife, or whatever she is, I don't know if they're in close contact anymore, when she was actually picked up, the attorney went on record to say, we just want to get a single mother out of a horrible, out of a horrible prison with horrible conditions and get her back to her child. I'm like, oh, okay. I got it now. Because the lady is, I don't know what she looks like. She doesn't look white, but she does look mixed. But because she's somehow related to Caroline Leavitt, now we got to make sure that we put on blast that the conditions in the prison are not great, or that they're inhumane. I mean, as if we didn't already know this. But see, it depends on who we're talking about, right? Because Jasmine Crockett goes on record to say, yeah, these conditions are inhumane, they're disgusting, and no one pays her any mind because who she is and the reputation she has, right? They don't like her, so they ignore her. But then when White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was someone connected to her, when they get picked up by ICE, now they feel like that they have to be transparent about the conditions. Well, isn't that something?
Stories about how much force is being used when people are being detained, but I can go right home, and I know the stories of my constituents. I know about a young lady who's only 21 years old and had consistently showed up to her appointments, and she was nabbed at one of those appointments. Her family said, make sure she's got her diabetic medication. They tried to give it to them. They would not take it. Ultimately, 5 days later, when they didn't give her medication, they had to take her to a hospital. They then put her back into custody, and ultimately there were issues with literally, I won't get so graphic, but involving urine and some other things.
Feel free to get graphic.
Well, I mean, there were allegations that because they were actually depriving them of water, that they literally were having to drink their own urine. This can't be America.
That's what I'm hoping, that she's being overzealous here. I'm hoping that this is not the truth, right? Like, that this should not be happening in America, right? I'm hoping that this is a overzealous statement, or somewhat of an overzealous story that we're getting, but I'm almost afraid that we might not be. So let's take a listen. Let's keep listening.
But obviously, in Trump's America, this is exactly what he wants. And the idea that one person can get out of line and commit such a horrific crime as shooting two National Guardsmen that never, ever asked to be here. In fact, we know the young lady that lost her life, specifically, we're saying that this is a waste of time. But now you want to go against every single immigrant. That doesn't make sense. And it's frankly not who we are, because if that's the case, let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country, because I can guarantee you, I can track down more crimes that they've committed, because overall, immigrants have a lower crime.
Keeping everything you love safe and sound. That's real magic. Xfinity. Imagine that.
Committal rate than white supremacists, but we don't want to talk about that in this country.
I mean, the FBI has for years said that homegrown terrorism is a much bigger issue than anything from any other country. One of the things that we keep hearing the president say is that he is going to denaturalize people. There should be people denaturalized, people who don't adhere to Western civilization values, whatever that means. I'm curious what you think about that, because one, is not something he can do, right? He can't go around waving a wand and denaturalize people. There's a process. He's not supposed to. There's a legal process to that. Yeah. But what do you think is actually behind that? Because...
And he is true. Shout out to my man with the James Brown afro working. Like, he's not lying about that. I talked about this the other day when it came to TPS. Temporary protective services ending for the Somalis, and I talked about the fact that Trump is actually not allowed to do that on his own. Like, he can't just decide, like, he's not going to give temporary protective status to Somalis. He can't just revoke it. It can't just up and disappear. He actually has to get the approval of someone from it's actually the Secretary of Homeland Security, I believe. So that would be Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem would actually be somebody who would make the final decision as far as TPS ending for the Somalis. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Kristi Noem is a big advocate for Trump. She always has been. This is the same Kristi Noem who we have who we see her online telling all the immigrants to go back home, like all of you just go back, right, and then just come back the right way, and we'll figure it out, we'll work it all out, but just leave right now, right, just get out now, and then when you come back, we'll give you like a do-over. So the same Kristi Noem that says that is the same Kristi Noem who would be responsible for TPS ending with the Somalis if Trump were going to do anything in regards to the Afghani refugees here in America. This would be those two, right? Now, President Trump can have some influence over what the Secretary of Homeland Security does, but he has influence, but he does not have the final decision. But just the fact that he has influence, I think, is enough. So let's keep listening.
He can't go around waving a wand and denaturalize people. There's a process. It's not supposed to. There's a legal process to that. Yeah. But what do you think is actually behind that? Because he probably knows that he can't do it, but what do you think he's trying to signal?
I think he is trying to do what he's always done, which is instill fear. He wants people to go into the shadows. He wants people to hide out the way that they're doing right now. People are not sending their kids to school. They're not showing up to work. He is wanting people to be terrified, and he only wants his kind of people on the streets. He wants everyone else to kind of languish in the shadows. But we can start with the fact that he's married a couple of immigrants himself, and we can start there if we about to start denaturalizing. I'm just saying.
I'm dead, because she basically saying that, like, if he really want to start getting rid of people, Ivanka need to go too. That's what she's really trying to say, low-key.
Congresswoman, you mentioned the children not going to school as a result of the fear that's being instilled by the president. That's something that we should be talking more about, and that's children who are being caught up in all of this. ProPublica had a story out on Monday. ICE sent 600 immigrant kids to detention in federal shelters this year. It's a new record. In the majority of the cases we examined, kids ended up in shelters in ways government officials say they never would have in the past, after routine immigration court hearings or appointments, or because they were at a home or a business when immigration authorities showed up to arrest someone else. Once children are in shelters, the government is making it harder and harder for relatives or other adults who act as sponsors to get them back. The average length of...
I'm not gonna lie, that 600 kids is troubling to me. I don't like that. Like, anytime government, I don't really care who you are, anytime government entities have control of children, it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe. Like, government facilities are not parents. So whenever they have control of a massive amount of children, I'm always extremely worried about that. And 600 kids is a lot.
The stay has grown to nearly 6 months, up from 1 month.
See, and this is some of the stuff that, like, the reason why some of this stuff bothers me is because you've had people go on record and say the government is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sex trafficker in the United States, right? That was a troubling statement the first time I heard it, but really understanding what the person means, like having friends that have gone through like the adoption process, right? And just to see how something like that, not even involving ICE, but it's so hard to go through, like they damn near make it impossible, right? And then you have something like this, like, look at what they're saying. They're making it, once kids are taken into custody, they're making it harder and harder for adults and relatives to become sponsors. Okay, I get this, because this is a double-edged sword, and you have to be so careful with this, right? Because Uncle Marco, right? Or let me say pun intended here, because actually when it comes to child pedophiles, right, Hispanic men are the second lowest on the list, right? They're actually above black men, and black men are behind them. The highest is actually white Caucasian men, right? So I get it. Uncle Jimmy comes and, you know, like, Uncle Jimmy's like, hey, I'm going to be a sponsor for this person, and we don't necessarily want to give Uncle Jimmy this kid because we don't really know Uncle Jimmy, right? And then if people bitch and moan and complain about the process, and we decide, decide, you know what, we are going to give Uncle Charles or Uncle Jimmy the kid, and then the kid gets molested for 15 years, right? So I think this is a sticky situation. It's a double-edged sword. I still don't like it, though. Like, the fact that they're making it so hard for relatives and people to become sponsors, it's like, what is the alternative? What are you going to offer the children that their relatives or their sponsors can't? I mean, granted, other than safety, but is that not subjective? How many people have said they gotten assaulted in ICE facilities or in prisons, or they're not safe there either? So I just, like, this is cringy to me.
During the presidency of Joe Biden, public data shows.
Yeah. This is the pro-life party. I just want to be clear. This is the party that says that, you know, they care so much about life until life actually shows up at their front door. And this is also the party that supposedly is about Christianity. And I just imagine what they would have done to a little baby Jesus, but that's a whole other issue. You know, it is really so heartbreaking. We know that under the prior Trump administration, it was the children in cages. So for me, expecting them to do better by children was not one of the things that was on my bingo card. I never expected them to do better. I expected them to do worse. And frankly, that is what they have done with this entire administration, is they have made everything worse. Like, it was bad the first time, so bad that he got kicked out of office. And then, unfortunately, America got amnesia, and somehow he ended up back in office. And now he is literally terrorizing everyone, from children that are born in this country to children that aren't born in this country to adults. It is really sickening, and if we are really going to get back to where we are truly great in this country, it is going to take really looking at your neighbors and seeing their humanity. He was able to dehumanize people during the election, whether it was trans folk or whether it was the immigrant. He dehumanized. And if you study anything about the Nazis, that is where it all starts, is the dehumanization. And none of us should be sitting by, even if we're not trans, even if we're not an immigrant. You have to understand that the dehumanization will come in for black folk, it will come in for women, it will come in for everyone, and that is why we unfortunately got here. But if we recognize where we went.
So now, like her a hater, love her or hate her, this is why Jasmine Crockett has, like, the base that she has, right? Because she's going on record to say something, right? Like, a lot of people are like, oh, like, she's being so dramatic, you know, like, she's saying, like, the rights for all of these people are going to go away. But look at the way that she's saying it. She's saying, like, okay, even though we're not trans, even though we're not these type of people, the dehumanizing starts with them. And because they are minority, like, I'm talking about within the scope of, like, all of America, let's just put it like that. Because they are a minority, right? It's okay to dehumanize this group of people, right? Like, what do you mean you're trans, right? What do you mean, like, you're gay? Like, what do you mean? This is not like what the nuclear family is set up to look like or be like, right? So she's trying to say it starts there. And if we don't do anything about it there, we don't think that it's going to touch anybody else, but it is. Now, some people might look at this and say, Jasmine Crockett, she's overzealous. Like, we can ignore her. But I guess the question is there any part of her that's telling the truth, right? Like, is there any part of her that's telling the truth? Because then she goes, then the dehumanizing of black people will come. Then the dehumanizing of this group of people will come. And we've seen bouts and spouts of this throughout history either way. I think that there's something to be said about the fact that she goes on record to say, like, we really need to be careful about this, right? Like, maybe you don't have a trans relative or friend or a gay relative or friend, so you think that these group of people being attacked or people going after them isn't a big deal. She's saying it is a big deal, because with time, you'll be the next person. Your group of people will be next. And really what I think is funny, because what I like to do here is, like, when I do night news, I like to react to slightly a different type of news, because I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit more rowdy, ratchet, and it's to the point. It's interesting because it's not like you don't have white Caucasian men in America feeling like this. You do, right? At one point in time, America was probably 90 or higher than that % Caucasian, and that number is dropping. You have people like Nick Fuentes. He seems, I'm not gonna say he seems extremely alarmed by it, but he's alarmed by it, right? He cares about it, which I guess I would understand that if people in Africa started being invaded and it went from a 95% African country to now it's only like 70% African or 60% or 40%, I would think that they would become worried, to say the least, at some point, right? And we're going to get into some of Nick Fuentes' commentary, but he does go on record to say when it comes to segregation, because we haven't played that video yet, that he doesn't necessarily think that segregation should be brought back, but he goes on record to say people do have the right to live amongst their own people, or the kind of people that they want to live around, right? Absolutely. This is why I don't care when people are like, oh my God, white people in Tennessee want to make an all-white county. I'm like, okay, who cares? That wouldn't be the first time that's happened. All right, let's keep listening.
Wrong. Hopefully we can get back on track and recognize that our strength lies in our unity, because there's so many more of us than there are of them, this hateful, venomous regime that we're living under right now.
Councilman, you sound like somebody who might be in a higher office with what you said today.
These are facts. No, what I just said.
You reportedly told CBS News Texas that you would make a decision about whether or not you were going to run for Senate by Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's over. We have you in the primary poll from the University of Houston and Texas Southern University. 31%. You're not even in. 31% for you, James Tallarico 25, Beto O'Rourke also not announced 25, Colin Allred 13%. It is post-Thanksgiving. Whether or not the data told you that you...
I will be perfectly honest.
Gosh, man. I'm going to just tell you guys right now, because you probably haven't been paying attention. You got to pick the greater of the two evils, right? I'm not going to lie to you. In this case, I don't think I would go for James Tallarico. I've been following him for some time. If you guys go back to some of my live streams, you'll see where I've reacted to him. And I like that guy. I have my eye on him. He's good at what he does. Let's just say that. Like, I'm good at watching. I'm good at observing. And it's like the way that he loves to intertwine politics with religion or with the Bible is fascinating to me. He does not do a great job at it. I'm just going to be honest with you. I've watched his sermons. He's preached full-blown sermons before in a church with a trans flag and a gay flag behind him, which honestly, I don't think I care as much about the trans and gay flag. I think what's alarming to me about the trans and gay flag in the church is that, so this is just historically speaking, to my defense, normally when I see that, the theology within that church is usually severely lacking. I'm not saying that the church can't love gay or trans people, whatever. If they want to, that's fine. But usually I'm saying like the core, the theology within that church, what they believe, what they stand for, what they think about the Bible, it usually is grotesquely wrong or erroneous. So I don't know how I feel about that. James Tallarico is somebody for you guys to keep your eyes on. If you guys do what they did in New York, and in certain places where people don't pay attention to their local elections, right? Now you see Jasmine Crockett on the docket, and then you see James Tallarico, and you think that's a local election, not the presidency, so I'm not going to pay it any mind. You need to pay this some mind. This is something that you need to pay attention to. I've been watching this guy for some time, and I'm telling you, I know Jasmine Crockett could be problematic. I think James would be a different type of problem, and I don't think he would be a problem most people would be able to see coming either.
Honest, because y'all know that I'm too transparent and my team will probably get mad. The data says that I can win. Here's the deal, though. Data is only one part of the equation. You have to be able to execute. And the state is 30 million people. It's a $100 million race. As well as, we need to be able to take advantage of the fact that the Republicans are fighting right now, and they may have to go to a runoff. And we also need to make sure we have what I consider to be a strong slate. People that can also raise money, people that also have kind of different groups of people that are attracted to them. And so it's more so logistical than anything at this point in time. But for sure, we did not stop our evaluation because the evaluation made it clear that the coalition that won on November 4th, black and brown folk, when you look at the numbers in New Jersey, when you look at the numbers in Virginia, it was making sure that black and brown, number one, showed up and voted the right way. I am the leading candidate when it comes to those two specific constituencies. And so it does make it to where I am very formidable, regardless of kind of what people may want to put out into the atmosphere. The numbers are the numbers. So we will see if execution is something that looks like a reality in a state of 30 million in basically a year trying to get this done.
So you still haven't made a decision? Because that's, to me, that sounds like someone who is like this close.
I am closer to yes than I am no. I will tell you that. But regardless of what people think, strategy matters. And execution matters. And there are a lot of people that don't believe in Texas. And so for me, if I am going to tell people that they need to believe in Texas, I need to not only have numbers on a piece of paper, I need to be able to tell them this is exactly how we're going to get there. And part of that equation, for me, again, comes down to what type of ticket. Instead of relying on one person to kind of carry the load, what type of ticket. So I've actually been talking to other candidates, potential candidates as well, trying to recruit them.
Up and down the ballot
up and down,
in Texas.
Up and down to make sure that it's not just the top of the ticket that everybody's looking at, but instead it's not like I can get around Texas by myself. It's having other people that can also come around.
Well, she cares about execution more than anything, and I think that is a admirable thing to do. You know, it's better than just going out there and saying, hey, the numbers are the numbers, and based on the numbers, I think that I could win, so I'm just going to kind of go do my own thing. She cares about execution, right? I think that that's wise, right? I think that she's pacing herself, so we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't hate James Tellerico. I don't like the vibe that I'm getting. Let's just put it like that. Like, I do think that if I met the guy, we would have a great conversation. I think that I could talk to him, but he just kind of gives ulterior motive a little bit, and that just that kind of makes me feel a little bit worried. It makes me feel a little bit worried in regards to like what's gonna happen after he wins. What's gonna happen after he wins? All right, guys, let's go to the next clip. Okay, we played Bill there.
We're so grateful for our family.
That's not a...
The Trump administration vowed sweeping reviews of immigrants following the shooting of two National Guard members in Washington, D.C. President Trump specifically called for pauses to all asylum applications and to halt visas to Afghans. Now, Afghan allies who have resettled in cities around the country fear that Trump's sweeping dictum could imperil their safety if they are forced to return and live under the Taliban regime they once fought with us against. The Afghan Community Coalition of the United States, they're now urging, quote, 20 years of Afghan-U.S. partnership must not be forgotten. And joining us now, Massachusetts Congressman Jake Ottencloth. He served our country as a Marine and commanded a Marine platoon in Afghanistan. Congressman, you served in Afghanistan, I believe in Helmand Province. And what are you concerned with about this policy if it is going to potentially cut off all visas and any asylum opportunities for Afghans who supported us when we were there in Afghanistan?
I'm concerned about collective punishment, which is not who we are as Americans. The American creed is that the circumstances of your birth should not determine the condition of your life. It's a promise that has helped make this country the greatest nation in the history of the world. The individual who committed this heinous act of violence, if found guilty by a jury, should spend the rest of his life in prison. And I hope that provides a small measure of solace to the family of the specialist who was slain. But the Afghan community at large should not be punished for the actions of one individual because they look like that individual, because they came from the same country of origin as that individual. This country has made this mistake with other immigrant populations, whether the Japanese or the Italians, and we must not make it again.
Congressman, so as we have covered on this show and elsewhere, the alleged shooter in this case was exhaustively vetted. He was vetted both when he joined to help U.S. forces, the CIA in particular, in Afghanistan. He was vetted when he came over here, and then he was vetted again when he applied for asylum. So how would you respond to Americans who are concerned that despite all of that vetting, it clearly wasn't sufficient? What needs to change in the screening program, if anything, so that we can let in the good guys, the people who help our troops, among others, and screen out people who wish us harm? Is the system that we have sufficient? Is there something that could be improved upon?
Catherine, I'm not going to prescribe fixes to the asylum screening process for Afghans or otherwise until we have a review of that process, and if there are holes in it, then we should fix them. What I can say with certitude, though, is that we would save a lot of lives in this country with tighter vetting for purchasing a gun. This gunman used a .357 Smith & Wesson to commit this act of violence, and I can guarantee you that relative to every other nation in the world, he received much less scrutiny about his mental state or about his intentions before purchasing that weapon than individuals elsewhere would have. So we know some things that we can do in this country already that would prevent gun violence. One of them is don't let mentally
Groups, among others, and screen out people who wish us harm. Is the system that we have sufficient? Is there something that could be improved upon?
Catherine, I'm not going to prescribe fixes to the asylum screening process for Afghans or otherwise until we have a review of that process, and if there are holes in it, then we should fix them. What I can say with certitude, though, is that we would save a lot of lives in this country with tighter vetting for purchasing a gun. This gunman used a .357 Smith & Wesson to commit this act of violence, and I can guarantee you that relative to every other nation in the world, he received much less scrutiny about his mental state or about his intentions before purchasing that weapon than individuals elsewhere would have. So we know some things that we can do in this country already that would prevent gun violence. One of them is don't let mentally ill people buy guns.
Congressman, you spoke earlier about the concept of collective punishment. Can you describe what it is like right now in Afghanistan under Taliban rule? What would we be condemning people to if we were to send them back en masse?
If there are women or girls who we're sending back en masse to Afghanistan, we are condemning them to a life without education or any kind of personal autonomy or freedom. Regrettably, since U.S. forces left, rights for women have absolutely lapsed back to 1990s levels under the Taliban. Now, U.S. diplomacy and international diplomacy is trying to create an envelope of freedom for women in that country, but it is not happening at any kind of...
I mean, Jake makes a good point here when he says, like, we shouldn't sell guns to people who are mentally ill. And I guess the only thing I would say to that is, if in America we decided to restrict our gun laws to that, right? Like anyone who has dealt with a mentally ill issue, they can't have a firearm, right? I think that's extremely subjective because it depends on what the issue is. As long as it's been nonviolent, I don't know if I would go for that right now. We're talking about somebody who I also fought for the country, so you guys can keep your stupid comments to yourself. I don't care if you're black or white, whatever. I fought for the country. I spent years in the Marine Corps, so I have a say about this because I also fought for people to be able to bear arms because that's what our laws say. So I don't want guns to just be taken away from people that have the right to have guns, but I do think one red flag right away. And I'm not saying that it should automatically be you can't have a gun, but if you have any type of violence in your history, it might need to be scrutinized a little bit, right? It might need to be looked at. Like, hey, what happened here? Did anyone get killed? Did anyone get shot? Like, was anyone harmed? Like, what exactly happened here? I think that's fair without also trying to take away the rights of people, right? Because how are you going to balance and check this? How are you going to make sure that you're not selling guns to people who have a mental illness? So now you're telling me that something else has to be added to the process of someone getting a firearm, right? There's already a background check in place, so what's next? Now you want a letter from their doctor. Because that's the only way that you would be able to say something like, we shouldn't sell guns to people who have a mental illness. Well, how are you going to be able to check? How would you know that? They don't walk around with a card in their wallet that says, hey, I'm mentally ill, or like, hey, I have bipolar or schizophrenia. So how would you check that? So just that in itself is like bothersome to me, because if it's put in place, I'm just wondering, how does this look if it's put into place? But I don't think it's a bad thing to consider or to scrutinize if someone has some type of violent history already, right? Like, let's at least take a look at what that looks like. If no one was shot or no one was like killed or hit by a car or like murdered, I don't think then it really matters. But if someone was harmed, I think it might need to be scrutinized a little bit. All right, let's keep watching.
Pace that is acceptable, and of course, people would have a much lower standard of living in terms of their ability to set their kids up for success in life. Now, the United States needs to work with our international partners to help Afghanistan become more self-sufficient and successful. Our obligations to that country did not end when the last troops left Afghanistan, but certainly we should not be sending back highly vetted former partners, interpreters, allies to Afghanistan. We should be allowing them to build new lives in this country, as so many immigrants before them have.
So Senator Mark Kelly has been threatened by Donald Trump's Pentagon over a video that he was part of that counseled military men and women that they had the right to refuse orders that were unlawful. You are in the Marine Reserves. Where's your stance on this, and what would you do if you were asked to fulfill an order that you saw as unlawful? Been threatened by Donald Trump's Pentagon over a video that he was part of that counseled military men and women that they had the right to refuse orders that were unlawful. You are in the Marine Reserves. Where's your stance on this, and what would you do if you were asked to fulfill an order that...
I'm glad she said Marine Reserves, because at first I just heard Marines, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, nah, bro, that guy got way too much hair to be a Marine. Even though people feel that way about me right now, but I haven't been on active duty for a couple of years, so I got belligerent on purpose. I was like, I'm growing a beard, I'm growing hair, I'm doing everything that I can't do on active duty. I did it as soon as I got off active duty. But there was a gentleman that showed up to my job probably, God, when was Anthony here? It was probably like 3 weeks ago or something like that, and I can say his name because you guys don't know who that is, but he was in the Marine Corps Reserve, and I didn't know that right away, but he noticed some memorabilia I have on one of my desks at work, and when I came into the lab, he said, hey, like, are you a Marine? Like, did you serve? And I was telling him, like, yeah, I did. And he told me that he was in the Marine Reserves, and I'm like, dude, you got a lot of hair. But it's like, we used to give reservists crap all the time. Like when I was on active duty and reservists would come like to the bases to like do their weekends or their monthly training, we would give them crap all of the time. So it's just fun and games. That's all, guys.
You saw as unlawful.
If you don't understand the rules of power, you will certainly lose to someone who does.
No longer in the Marine Reserves, but still fluent in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and it's pretty darn clear about this. I mean, there's not a lot of gray area. You are required to instantly obey all lawful orders. It is a tight command and control system, but unlawful orders don't have that same force of law behind them. And with the senator...
This is interesting. I like the way he said it. Instantly obey all lawful orders, right? So this is probably why I was talking about this being tricky as someone who served, right? Because just the play on words that he's using, instantly all lawful orders, right? So if you're giving an order, someone can, one, take that as, okay, I have to follow this right away because it was given, so I execute. Give and execute. That's how your brain should work. Give and execute, right? Because you're not thinking that your CO or someone is going to command you to do something unlawful or illegal, but it actually has happened. And we've seen footage, and we've seen proof of our military going over to other countries and doing unlawful things, right? So this is how your brain, I love the way he said it, because a lot of people they didn't understand where I was going with this when I said, like, it's really hard to ask a service member to disobey an order, because there's a certain way our mind works when we get an order, right? And I love the way that he said it. He said to instantly obey, right? So that's how it kind of is. You get an order, it's like give and execute, give and execute. There's really not much leeway, not much pausing there. You kind of just do. The decisiveness kicks in when you have to decide really quickly is what this person just asked me to do. Is it illegal or legal? Is it lawful or unlawful? And that's where the decisiveness kicks in. I don't think this is hard to make, but I have spent some time in the Marine Corps. I was not a reservist. I was full-blown active duty, so I lived in the barracks. I lived on base. I went overseas, right? I've been attached to a MU. There's a lot of different things that I've gotten a chance to do. So I just kind of understand how this works. When you're giving an order, you're not thinking that the person is out to screw you or they're out to get you in trouble. But sometimes your commanding officer, they're in a headspace and they are human just like you are. They could be bothered about something. They could have a lot going on. They could be dealing with family issues. So can unlawful orders ever be given? Absolutely. We've already seen that happen. And usually it happens during time of war. But the decisiveness is for the service member to act very quickly and say, is what I was just asked to do lawful or unlawful? Is it legal or illegal? Someone said it in my live stream the other day, and I love the way they put it. They said, just remember that a service member saying I was just following orders doesn't get you off the hook when it comes to war crimes. I said, absolutely. This is something where you have to be so careful, right? And that's why I said, because I've been in the military some time, and I've gotten a chance to travel, and I spent some years in there. My mind works very decisively with this, right? There are a couple of things, there are a couple orders I could be given, and I'm not going to think I'm not even going to think a split second about it. Like, it's just going to be given, executed. But there's other orders that I would be like, that doesn't really sound right? Like, my CO can't tell me, we just found 5 insurgents in that house. Go over there and blow all 5 of their heads off, and then that's an order, right? So that's cool, right? I'm going over there, I'm walking over there, I'm about to do, and then I go in there, and then, like, we have clear orders not to execute any children, and out of those 5 people, 2 of them are kids, right? So now I've actually just been given an unlawful order. Like, I actually have. The question is, what am I going to do? How quickly am I going to react? And how am I going to handle it, right? I could just go in there, blow the 3 adults' heads off, come back and say, hey, the job's halfway done because, we have orders not to kill kids and you're asking me to kill kids. I could go in there and blow all 5 of their heads off. I mean, this is just, I say this gets to be a very sticky situation when you're asking service members, should they or should they not follow orders. We should follow lawful orders, but unlawful orders, because we are trained to react so fast, so instantly, so abruptly. Yeah, man, bad things have happened. So let's keep watching.
Was saying is just what the Uniform Code of Military Justice makes plain to any officer or enlisted man who signs up to the armed services. What the president is doing here, though, is not debating the legal niceties of the UCMJ. I think we all know that this president is not a stickler for the law. What he's doing is he's trying to distract Americans yet again from his economic mismanagement. We've seen this time and time again for the last 10 months. As prices keep going up, as his answers get more and more hollow and shallow, he continuously abuses the military, either through deployments to American cities or through saber rattling against Venezuela, to create a news cycle and a froth that is meant to take Americans' attention away from affordability. But you know what? It's not going to work because you can't lie about prices.
Congressman, very quickly, we only have a few seconds before we have to go, but looking at what's happening with the strikes in the Caribbean right now, if you were still serving and you were given those orders, would you comply?
If, as reported, Pete Hegseth told me to launch a second strike against people who had already been struck once and who were hanging on to the side of the boat, that's illegal, that's a war crime, not an order that can be followed. You'd be subject to prosecution for it. Now, the Secretary of War is going to be entitled to make his case about whether that happened or not, but frankly, Congress has allowed us to get to this place, and I want to really reinforce this. By ceding more and more of our war powers since 2001.
Right, so he made a good call here. Good job, John. I like the way he answered that question. You can tell that he talks to the media often. He says if I was ordered, if it was actually reported, if it was done the way it was reported, and there was already one missile strike sent, and there were people that they didn't die for whatever reason. You got some people hanging off the boat. Maybe you could see some people kind of running around on some type of camera. You got, I don't know. And the Secretary of War says, hey, shoot another missile. I want to make sure everybody's dead. Shoot another missile. Okay, so that could be considered a war crime. So that's why I said John did a good job with answering that. And the reason why I said it could be is because you are disobeying a direct order if you choose to not do it. Right? If you choose to not do it, you are, like Pete Hegseth could say, this person disobeyed a direct order. Dereliction. Lord, I hated that word when I was on active duty. Dereliction of duty. This person needs to be dismissed from active duty. He could say that. And then the person, that's why John says that the Secretary of War is entitled to make his case about that. But as John just said, if he was to take the stand and say there had already been one missile shot, we were able to see that there was still life on the boat. We were able to see movement. I then was given another order to shoot another missile. But I know based on the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, that I would have been responsible for a war crime at that point. So I chose not to do it. And then at that point, you just got to kind of let the chips fall where they may fall.
With the authorizations for use of military force of 01 and 03, Congress has allowed this condition to develop, where an out-of-control president can blur law enforcement with military force and basically order execution summarily. And this country needs to get a hold back on Article 1 war-making powers.
Congressman Jake Auchincloss, thank you for your time tonight.
All right, shout out to John for that. Auchincloss, he did a great job with his answers, you know. He made sure that he protected the military and himself in the way that he was answering his questions, so I can appreciate that. We're going to go over to Fox News again. We have an Asian man who is suing his department for, it seems like racism, discrimination. I think this is hilarious, and I'm gonna get into why I think this is so funny, but and some of it has to do with some of the nightly news that we watch over here. It's just funny to see this play out. But we're going to take a look at why this man felt the need to sue his department and some of his constituents and what he has to say about it. Let's take a listen.
The allegations of racism in the Glendora Police Department are disturbing, and this officer is also alerting the community about what he calls arrest quotas.
I want to pursue a job and a career where I can help people in a tangible way.
Officer Andrew Huang joined the Glendora Police Department in 2023. He says he loves serving his community, but hates being subjected to racial harassment inside the department.
These high-ranking supervisors are telling me and making these jabs and comments at me knowing that I can't say anything.
He says one incident happened during an end-of-deployment dinner at a sushi restaurant in Rancho Cucamonga. A lieutenant allegedly told him to get back in the kitchen and cook for the group because you're Asian.
They knew that this is wrong. You're not supposed to do.
See, this wouldn't fly. See what I mean? This wouldn't fly. I told you guys that if those of you who know who Jubilee is, shout out to Jubilee. Go back and go check their channel out, Jubilee. They'll do some things sometimes, and then there's also a round table where they'll have people come and they'll have conversations around the table. There'll be two sides. They'll say a general question, and then both sides decide if they're going to come forward and agree with it and talk about it, or if they're not. I'm telling you, when I saw this episode on Jubilee about Asian Americans versus African Americans, bro, when I tell you the level of butt kissing that Asians do to white America, it's hilarious to me. Like, it is hilarious to me. I actually was unaware of this, and that's the crazy thing. I was grossly unaware. They asked a question during this roundtable session. It's important to me if white America accepts me, right? So this is Asian Americans versus African Americans. So we got two sides. You guys know how Jubilee work. If you watch it, you know how this works. It's important to me that white America accepts me, right? I think one black person came forward, or none of them, and like all the Asian people came to the table. I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know that. I was like, wow. So y'all on the white man like that, like y'all. And it was funny to listen to their reasoning for it, right? Some of their reasoning. Now I gotta say, shout out to like the amazing Lucas for this. Shout out to Young Don React. Shout out to CJ's Perspective. My other guy that has the good hair. He wears Antonio Talks. I think that's his name. A lot of these guys had this commentary for me to be able to watch and educate myself and just talk about different races. I could not believe the amount of pandering that these Asians did, or these Asian Americans did, to these white people. I said, wow, so it's that important for you, for white people to accept you? Now, don't get me wrong. As black people, and even though I am a person of mixed race, it doesn't matter. As black people, like, we're kind of used to America, so a lot of us just don't have time for that. Like, I'm not spending my days hoping that the white man next door loves me. I really don't care. Just leave me alone. If you want to be my friend, we'll be friends. If you don't, then that's cool, right? But it was hilarious to see all of these Asian people come to the table and say, yes, it's important to me that white people accept me. I feel like if white people accept me, that I've made it. I feel like if white people accept me culturally, then, I'll be accepted in general. I said, what the hell kind of boba tea are y'all drinking? Like, what is happening? Because I'm just thinking to myself, where did this thought process come from? Was it because, like a couple years ago, when like all of that stuff was happening over in China and in the Asian continent, like all of these white people in America decided to adopt all of these Asian babies, and like because of that reason you guys think that like if white people accept you, you're white? Like, dude, this is hilarious to me. This guy is so off-put. The fact that they would tell him, you need to go in the kitchen and cook for us because you're Asian. Like, he's literally shocked that white people in America told him this. And I'm thinking to myself, bruh, because you got less melanin than me don't mean nothing, my guy. You're not white. They gonna be able to tell that you're not white. And anybody that's white and believes in this thing called pure blood, you for damn sure ain't that. So I just think this is hilarious that this guy feels so bad about how these white people treated him. It's like, they told me I need to go in the kitchen and keep cooking because I'm Asian. I would have been like, bro, your mama need to go in the kitchen. Like, we not fazed by that. Like, we already know how some of the crazy, and it's not every white person, but like Lucas say, the ignorant whites, right? The white supremacists, the white people that think like all black people should leave America and y'all brought us here like we wanted to be here. Man, shut up. This is hilarious to watch this guy.
Do this, we're in 2025. You're telling your...
In Rancho Cucamonga, a lieutenant allegedly told him to get back in the kitchen and cook for the group because you're Asian.
They knew that this is wrong. You're not supposed to do this. We're in 2025. You're telling your only Asian officer to go back in the kitchen and cook for them because because what? I look different than you because I'm Asian? I'm Korean. I'm not even Japanese.
I don't know why the city would permit.
Bro, I'm dead. Yo, this is the kind of punch they got these Asian people. This man said, I'm Korean, I'm not even Japanese. You still look the same, bro. They don't care. Like, Yo, I'm so dead right now, my man. I feel bad for him. He said, I'm Korean, I'm not even Japanese. You ain't white, buddy, so it don't matter.
Such conduct to go on. They have a growing Asian American population in the city of Glendora. 11% of their population is Asian American, and this is a concern. Officer Wong says he was also dealing with directives to increase arrests. He showed us messages from the president of the Police Officers Association, urging officers to push arrest numbers up to 1,700 a year. Other messages sent out to officers included, the jail sure is empty, and Those crickets are getting loud.
If you put a pressure, you put an expectation of a quota onto officers, it just gives them, opens the door to corruption, to do unethical stops, unethical arrests.
When Officer Huang finally reported the harassment, he says the department did not protect him. Instead, he says his complaint was exposed, and then he became the target of 3 separate investigations.
They did it in retaliation to try to make...
You damn right they did. You damn right they did. You don't know nothing about... So you want to be in America, talk about, oh, it's important that white people accept me, and you don't know nothing about Blue Lives Matter? Like, you don't know nothing about that code? That's hilarious to me. That's hilarious. You know why you became a target, Mr. Asian man? Because you went and you tried to tell that white people were bullying you. And who did you go tell? Let me guess. You went to tell other white people that white people were bullying you. Good job, buddy.
It looked like he was bad at his job to create a sort of pseudo paper trail to try to terminate him.
Every day we put on a badge and gun and a bulletproof vest, and it's a grim reminder of the risks that we take on an everyday basis in order to protect the community. Only to be betrayed, racially discriminated.
Yo, I promise you this guy's case ain't gonna go nowhere. Like, I know it's not gonna go anywhere. I know it's not. Like, that's the reason why he said that his charges, like, he became the target of 3 separate investigations. Yeah, because they're gonna get you out of there. They're gonna get you out of there. Like, I don't know what he thinks. I don't know what he thinks the lawsuit's gonna do, but we'll see. Like, I'm interested to follow this one. We'll see. Let's see if there's any real reprieve because he's Asian and he's really, really light skinned. Let's see if that happens.
Officer Huang was placed on administrative leave. His attorneys argue that the same supervisors who were discriminating against him were also involved in the investigation. Now, we reached out to the Glendora Police Department and the City of Glendora, and no one has gotten back to us. Christine?
All right, Gina, thank you for looking at that.
Why you should never think you're too old to have a dog that adores you. My friends made fun of me when I ordered this AI companion.
Tell that brown dog was life. That was such a distraction. But I think this is interesting. The lady said that they've reached out to the Glendora Police Department, and so far nobody's gotten back to them. Oh, are you shocked? I'm not shocked. Not even the chief police? Yeah, no kidding, miss. Nobody's going to get back to you. That's why I said nothing's gonna happen to this. Like, I'm dying to see how this plays out.
The allegations of racism.
And it's a grim reminder of the risks that we take on an everyday basis in order to protect the community. Only to be betrayed, racially discriminated.
Officer Huang was placed on administrative leave. His attorneys argue that the same supervisors who were discriminating against him were also involved in the investigation. Now, we reached out to the Glendora Police Department and the City of Glendora, and no one has gotten back to us. Christine?
Yeah, that's not shocking. Nobody is going to get back to them. That's why I said nothing's going to happen. Like, what's going to come of this case is absolutely nothing. But we'll keep watching. We'll take a look. That's why I said we'll see if anything comes out of it, because he is an Asian man and he has less melanin, right? And this is the funny thing about you guys, because about this, guys, because if you talk to Asian people, they will tell you, like, because of their colonizers, because of the people that took them over, like, they have a certain outlook towards darker Asians versus lighter Asians. Sound familiar? Yeah, because by their colonizers, they were told that if you are lighter, you are better, you are more superior, and if you are darker, you are less than and you are inferior. Only somebody really, really white came up with this dumb analogy, right? Like, why the hell would that be more superior, right? You don't even see in the Bible, like, where they start off talking about people that look white. But whatever, I digress. So they have this perspective. If you are an Asian that is of lighter color, then you are superior. If you are an Asian that has more melanin in you, then you are looked down upon. Sound familiar? Sound just like the stupid stuff that they do in America, right? So you have Asian people that when you are a darker Asian, and this is actually very true, because I can tell you right now, I work with a plethora of Asians at my job, and they do this crap all of the time, right? If you are a lighter Asian, I promise you they walk around like they white. I promise you they do. Like they think that they're white. Like I see them do it all the time. And then the darker Asians are usually they're more humble, right? Like they'll talk to you more, they'll hang out with you more. But if they are an Asian that they are lacking in melanin, I promise you for sure they think that they're white. And it cracks me up every single time when a Caucasian white man puts them in their place. I can't help but to laugh. I go run around and laugh because that's the only time when they remember, oh, I'm not Caucasian and I'm not white. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no kidding.
You can record.
Okay, guys, the Humanist Report. Shout out to the Humanist Report. I must be subscribed to them with my other channel. Americans are coming up, switching gears a little bit. Americans are coming up with genius ways how to help ICE, how to deter ICE from taking people. Why would this be happening in America? Come on, guys. We talk about this all of the time. We know exactly why this is happening in America. Because ICE is pissing people off. That's why. It's not that President Trump didn't have a mandate. He does. And a lot of people do want immigrants to go. You know, I have people sometimes, whether they jump into email, because you guys know how to find me on email on YouTube. You guys reach out and write a comment to me, or you just simply ask a question in my chat like, man, what about the people that are here and they're not causing anybody any harm and they go to work every day? Why should those people be deported? Listen to me. I don't necessarily think that they should. And I don't have any jurisdiction over that. You guys got to understand something. You're putting your emotion into it and you're putting your feelings into it, which I'm not saying it doesn't belong there, but it's misplaced when you have people arguing that these people that came into the country, even though they're not violent and even though they're not hurting anybody right now, because they came in and they did not go straight to an immigration office, they didn't go straight to taking care of their paperwork, they already committed a crime by coming in. Now, I don't dude, don't act like this is rocket science, bro. Like, this is as easy as 1, 2, 3. This ain't rocket science. Well, they're not doing anything. They're not hurting anybody. It doesn't matter. When they came into the country, they didn't go to the immigration office. They didn't go somewhere with a sponsor. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. Now, y'all can sit here as Americans and act dumb if you want. Go to Russia and try to do the same thing. Go to India and try to do the same thing. Go to Vietnam and try to do the same thing. You will get arrested and you will get deported. That is what happens. So we cannot put our emotions into everything. Right now, we have to understand what's happening. And what's happening is that there's a mass removal. What's also happening is that a lot of Americans are pissed off about the way that ICE is going about it. They don't like the manhandling, right? Like, even when you're going to find men that you want to deport, you're finding them on a freaking lunch break eating a sandwich and an apple, and you're going over there like they just killed somebody to drag them in. You're pissing people off, right? So when I see American citizens, I don't know, like destroying ICE vehicles, deterring ICE raids, if I'm honest with you, sometimes I kind of laugh at this. I do, because they kind of brought this on themselves, right? You can't just expect people to go along with what you want them to do and you're doing it in a violent way. That's just not going to work out in anybody's favor, right? And this is why you see people so angry at the way ICE is going about things.
He's a resident! He's a resident! He's a resident! He's a legal resident! Please. You can record.
I don't care. He's a legal citizen. He works for us.
Stay right here.
He's a legal citizen. Already has one for your name. No, he's not.
It is my employee. He's your employee?
Yes.
We're taking him into custody, okay?
Why?
Get out. You're a citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen.
You just watched two separate instances of Trump's ICE Gestapo targeting U.S. citizens in Oregon, which is my home state. And in that last video, the attempted kidnapping took place in McMinnville, Oregon. And in case you couldn't hear what that ICE agent said, he said that he didn't care when the 17-year-old that he was trying to kidnap told him that he's a U.S. citizen. Yeah, not surprising, honestly, but still disgusting, nonetheless. And just speaking from personal experience, I have Latino family members who are citizens that are terrified by ICE's presence in Portland and surrounding areas because they no longer believe that their citizenship is going to protect them, and that's a reasonable fear, seeing as how the Supreme Court literally greenlit racial profiling. And as a direct result of that disastrous decision, ProPublica reports that there's already been 170 American citizens that we know of who've been assaulted and or detained by ICE, 3 of which were pregnant, by the way. These Americans have been dragged, tackled, beaten, tased, and shot by the ICE Gestapo, and 24 of them were held for longer than 24 hours and weren't even given a phone call to their attorney or a family member. And if they're willing to brazenly violate the civil liberties of American citizens, imagine what they're doing to non-citizens. But even those who manage to avoid their wrath still have to live in fear, wondering if they're going to be next, or worrying about whether or not their parents aren't going to come. The attempted kidnapping took place in McMinnville, Oregon, and in case you couldn't hear what that ICE agent said, he said that he didn't care when the 17-year-old that he was trying to kidnap told him that he's a U.S. citizen. Yeah, not surprising, honestly, but still disgusting, nonetheless. And
he's a resident! He's a resident! He's a resident! He's a legal resident! Please. You can record. I don't think he's a legal citizen. He works for us.
God, ICE is so annoying. And look at them talking about, you can record. She's like, dude, I already know I can. Like, what do you do? They can't stand when they deal with people that already know their rights. The guy's just like, ma'am, you can stand there. You can record. She's like, I already know I can record. He's a legal citizen. Why are you arresting him? This is hilarious.
No, it's not.
It is my concern. He's my employee. Yes.
We're taking him into custody.
Why?
And you see what she says, right? She's like, you guys were already here earlier this morning. So we can see, like, if you were there earlier this morning, why are you coming back around, right? Because you're trying to make rounds. That's what you're trying to do. You're like, okay, we got a couple of guys at 7 a.m. There'll be more here at 8. There'll be more here at 9. Bruh, when I say that ICE has pissed people off, this is hilarious to watch. Because I know that the American citizens, some of the stuff that they're seeing, they didn't think ICE was going to go about it like that. This is where I think President Trump is hilarious. It's like, dude, do you understand what America is? This ain't Nick Fuentes. We're going to get into Nick's commentary in a minute, but this ain't that. America ain't 90% white no more, bro. So it's like when you got a mandate, you got all of these different types of citizen here, a melting pot. True indeed. And you got ICE manhandling the crap out of people that are just working. Listen to me. People that didn't vote for Trump or people that aren't against immigration, they're not playing these games with ICE. Like they try to deter ICE every chance they get. Whether they're wrecking their cars, whether they throwing stuff at them. Some people like try to distract them, and then the person that they arresting ends up running free. Like, I've actually seen this happen. It actually has turned into quite an SHIT show, if I'm honest.
You just watched two separate instances of Trump's ICE Gestapo targeting U.S. citizens in Oregon, which is my home state. And in that last video, the attempted kidnapping took place in McMinnville, Oregon. And in case you couldn't hear what that ICE agent said, he said that he didn't care when the 17-year-old that he was trying to kidnap told him that he's a U.S. citizen. Yeah, not surprising, honestly, but still disgusting, nonetheless. And just speaking from personal experience.
So some of that's probably coming from maybe everybody they detain. They're like, I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen. So the ICE agent's like, yeah, I don't care. We'll find that out when we get to where we're going.
I have Latino family members who are citizens that are terrified by ICE's presence in Portland and surrounding areas because they no longer believe that their citizenship is going to protect them, and that's a reasonable fear, seeing as how the Supreme Court literally greenlit racial profiling. And as a direct result of that disastrous decision, ProPublica reports that there's already been 170 American citizens that we know of who've been assaulted and or detained by ICE, 3 of which were pregnant, by the way. These Americans have been dragged, tackled, beaten, tased, and shot by the ICE Gestapo, and 24 of them were held for longer than 24 hours and weren't even given a phone call to their attorney or a family member. And if they're willing to brazenly violate the civil liberties of American citizens, imagine what they're doing to non-citizens. But even those who manage to avoid their wrath still have to live in fear, wondering if they're going to be next, or worrying about whether or not their parents aren't going to come home one day after they leave for work. And this fear was expressed by a 16-year-old named Manny Chavez during a city council meeting in Hillsboro, Oregon, and I want to play his remarks for you.
I'm scared for my parents to walk out there. To walk out the house because I might not be able to say goodbye to them if they go to work. I might not ever be able to say bye or see them again if you guys don't side with us. And I'm scared because of it because they fought so hard to come here and choose us.
See, this is the funny thing about this type of content, right? Like, you have to actually be able to have this organ working. It's called like a heart, right? And like a lot of people, and this is the thing I tell you guys all the time, even though I may seem like I sway more to the conservative side, I always tell you guys, listen, don't worry about that, because like I came from a very liberal family. I've served in the Marine Corps, so I'm just an amalgamation of a lot. But it's like, here's one thing I can tell you: conservative people, they're not going to react to content like that. They're not going to react to that kid that looks like that, who I'm reacting to right now, crying, because they don't want to deal with that. Let me tell you how much ignorance is bliss is so true in a scenario like this. How much ignorance is bliss. The less I know what your face looks like, the less I know what your family has been through and what you're going through. It's so easy for me to just sit there and just be like, nope, mass immigration has to go. Nope, I'm not okay with this. Nope, lock them up. Nope, ship them all back to their country. It's very easy to do that when you don't want to put a face to anything. That's why you do not see conservative people on YouTube reacting to things like this. And this is why when I have people come on my channel and they're like, oh my God, Q, you're reacting to MSNBC. I'm like, bro, pipe down. Like, I don't like MSNBC like that either, but I am a very big advocate of listening to both sides. Like, mainstream media lies, and it doesn't matter if they lie on the right, they lie on the left. The only way we're gonna find it out is by looking at all their lies and all their stuff, and then just kind of piecing things together, right? And when we don't want to do that, we have like a Candace Owens or a Ben Shapiro or a Theo Vaughn or an Amazing Lucas, somebody, Reese Waters, somebody that we can go to, and they've done the work for us already. But these people, you can't trust them. You can't trust them. They'll never react to content like this, because they'll see that young man crying, and you'll see some ignorant white people get in my chat, and they'll be like, no one cares, go back to where you came from. Yeah, it's easy to say that, right? Because you're not associating a face with anything, you don't know anybody, and you just want what you want. But that's the reason why now you got American citizens breaking up ICE stuff, deterring ICE, messing with ICE, because they don't like it. Like, yeah, you had a mandate from the president, but you're manhandling people, you're treating people rough, you're treating people like you're treating people like crap. They're not even doing anything, and you're coming. Why can't you pick them up peacefully? Why you have to do it like this? This is the anger that you guys are starting to see from people, and it doesn't even matter if they voted for Trump. There are people that voted for Trump, and they are pissed about the way ICE is handling things.
A life for their kids. And I really hope you guys do hear what everyone in this room has been saying, and I hope you guys do side with us, because we are fighting for our rights, and we are getting treated like animals because people judge us by the color of our skin and the way that we talk. I'm scared that I'm never going to be able to see all my friends again. I'm scared that their parents are going to be gone one day. I'm scared that all of us are going to have to fend for ourselves. I'm scared that one day at school that I'm going to get like held by people that I don't know, people that are covered, people that I can't identify because they wear masks and they don't properly ID themselves.
Now, he's coming out right now. This kid can't be no more than 18 years old, maybe 17, 16. He looks younger than that. And he's telling us right now every single thing that he's afraid of, right? I'm scared that I'm never going to see my family again. I'm scared that I'm going to be in school and I'm going to be held down by people that I can't identify because they have masks. I'm scared I'm going to be minding my business one day and they come get me. Okay, based on every single thing that this kid is telling us that he's scared of, I am 97% sure that whenever this kid sees ICE, whether they are 500 yards away from him or within 5 feet of him, he's going to run. I'm almost positive that that's what's going to happen. He's already saying what he's terrified of, right? But then if he runs, ICE will justify why he got shot, or why they threw him to the ground and his face got busted up, or why they were able to detain him and his heart stopped for 5 minutes and they brought him back to life. See, this is the type of stuff where it's just like, dude, you're pissing people off, right? You're pissing people off. You're going to remove people from the country. I think even people that didn't vote for Trump are like, all right, fine. We lost the battle. You're going to remove people from the country. But you got to understand that people who care about people who are compassionate, especially on the Democratic side, they're not going to like this type of stuff. They're not going to like this type of stuff. And there's already people on the right that are like, dude, I voted for Trump, but like, this is kind of disgusting. Like, you have it on both sides where people are just not liking the way ICE is going about doing what they're doing.
I'm scared that everyone that I love is not I'm not going to be able to see them again, because even though that they're U.S. citizens, they don't care about us. They treat us like dogs. They treat us like animals. No one here cares about us because of the color of our skin. So I'm asking you guys, every single one of you guys that are sitting up here, to actually hear us and do something about it, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of telling my mom and dad every day after school that, have you seen the new video of ICE pulling someone over because of the color of their skin? I'm tired of everything. And I hope you guys really do something about it, because I really do want something to change, because I should not live like this as a 16-year-old. I shouldn't be scared. I should be focusing on school when I can't.
Yeah, I know he was around that age. He looks around that age. That's why I say it can't be no more than that. Man, like, this is pretty heartbreaking. You know, this is pretty heartbreaking. He even goes on record to say, like, I'm 16 years old and, like, I have to, like, I love doing commentary on things, but certain things that I run into, sometimes I just have to take a moment, right? Because I really do. I'm very much a people person, right? And as political as I can be if I need to be, and as spiritual as I can be if I need to be, I always stop and think about the fact that at any given moment, the most important thing to God at any given moment is people. And it's just like, I'm just listening to this kid and I'm thinking to myself, like, it's so easy to get on here and just do content that you guys will like, and I can have 700 people pull up all the time, like, and I can, but it's hard. Like, I have to be fair, and I have to pull on the things that I know that people want to see, and on the things that some people don't want to see. And just listening to this kid, like, I know his parents feel bad. You know, he's talking about, have you seen the new ICE video that, you know, they pull someone over just because of the color of their skin? I'm like, wow, so you guys really are getting to feel like, you know, what some black people in America feel like. You know, like, you actually now can't tell these type of people that they don't deal with systemic racism, because they actually wouldn't believe you at this point. So it's just hard to just see this kid, like, kind of break down like that. And, you know, as a 16-year-old boy, I would think that there should be so many other things on his mind, and there probably are, but they're just not trumping, and pun intended, you know, they're just not trumping some of the things that are going on right now.
Focus on school.
I started my degree in 1986.
That is heartbreaking. And
now, so here's the thing. If somebody's like, yeah, Q, but you just said, like, you know, these people are already breaking the law when they first come into the country. So, you know, like, why do you even care that that kid is crying if you have the energy of that they already broke the law? Well, because he didn't break the law, right? Like, he was born here, right? So it wouldn't have been him who broke the law. It would have been his parents. It would have been his parents. And that's why it sucks so bad. Because even as parents, when they first got here, I'm sure, like, getting to America, being able to set up a new life, being able to do something new and something, you know, just big and different, and it's exciting, and you're in a different place. All of that is overwhelming and exciting at once, but you still have to think about the future of your kids. Like, before he was 16, I know his parents didn't just get here, right? Like, he says it. He's like, we were born here. So he's been here for some time, you know, probably with his people. It's important that at some point they would have realized, like, hey, we should go do the right thing, like, so this doesn't at some point affect them, right? Because I get it. Some people are going to say, oh, we're birthright citizenship. And I'm like, dude, I was cracking up when Trump came live in the Oval Office and he tried to kill that. Like, he literally is just like, birthright citizenship are for the slaves that came to America. Listen to me. You can get mad at the man, but he was right. You can get mad at him, but he was right. If he wants to get all of the immigrants out, he's going to be like, oh, hell to the no. Birthright citizenship ain't for everybody. That's for the slaves. Like, why Chinese people need to get that? Why Venezuelan people need to get... Bro, I was cracking up. I was like, Trump ain't playing. The fact that he literally just came out and said that is crazy work. So they're being serious about this stuff. And I do think that if a person was born here, like, I mean, they were born here, right? So to me, I don't feel like birthright citizenship is a bad thing. But considering what Joe Biden, like, I don't think we got nobody to blame but Joe for this, right? For some reason, I feel like it's Joe and Obama. I don't know. Like, some people say, Q, you're not fair because you blame Obama for everything. I do. I blame Obama for a lot of stuff because me and Obama, we got beef. But I don't know. Like, when you consider how many people Joe Biden let in and how crazy it got, yeah, man, Trump's like, we're not doing a birthright citizenship thing. Like, if you was having sex and got pregnant within 18 months, you and your baby got to get out. Like, and Trump flat out said it. He was like, y'all got to get out.
To make matters worse, in a follow-up interview with reporters, Manny said that he is now worried that he's going to be singled out by ICE because that testimony that you just saw went viral. So now he's worrying more about whether or not his family is going to be targeted. It's just so heartbreaking because you get punished for speaking up. And it's a real fear that so many immigrants have, which is why it's especially important for the rest of us, privileged Americans, to speak out on their behalf, because they can't really do that without making themselves even more vulnerable than they already are. And I'm happy to report that the people of Hillsborough are indeed stepping up. And I say this because, as OPB reports, Hillsborough teachers have come together to form an ICE neighborhood watch in response to multiple ICE kidnappings that have occurred outside of schools, including a preschool, mind you. And one fourth grade teacher told reporters, we're making ourselves present and visible so that our families see we stand with ICE kidnappings that have, it's because, as OPB reports, Hillsborough teachers have come together to form an ICE neighborhood watch and...
Dude, Hillsborough teachers came together to form an ICE neighborhood watch? What do you think those teachers are? What do you think? They're from Venezuela? Or you think they're from Colombia? No, they're from America. Like, that's what I'm saying. They came together to do an ICE neighborhood watch because they're sick of their SHIT. They're like, I'm sick of ICE coming in here bothering. First of all, a preschool. See, this is like the government. You know, the government don't have no boundaries, bro. Like, they don't have no boundaries. Like, what makes you think that parents are gonna be okay with you being ICE and you're in a why are you in my 4-year-old kid's class? What are you gonna do with my 4-year-old? That's my question. Like, see, this stuff don't settle well with me. It don't sit well with me. You guys can already tell.
In response to multiple ICE kidnappings that have occurred outside of schools, including a preschool, mind you. And one fourth grade teacher told reporters, we're making ourselves present and visible so that our families see we stand with our community and we stand with the message that our students deserve to learn in confidence and not in fear. And they felt like a neighborhood ICE watch was appropriate and necessary because, for those who don't know, Hillsborough, Oregon has a really large Latino population. I actually worked near Hillsborough for almost a year, and it is a lovely, lovely community. But, you know, because of the ominous presence of the ICE Gestapo, people there cannot live their lives. Children have been afraid to go to school, which, in my opinion, unforgivable. Now, I'm sorry, but if you have children that are expressing that they don't even feel safe in their own communities, that is a sign that we have failed as a society. And every single person in this country should be outraged about that. But thankfully, regular people are outraged, and they're stepping up to protect vulnerable members of their community who can't really advocate for themselves. But it's not just teachers. More citizens showed up to City Council to express their outrage about ISIS kidnappings in Hillsborough, and together they managed to force public officials to take action. And even though it's very clearly still not enough, these folks aren't just sitting around and waiting for something to be done. They're taking action themselves. They're taking things into their own hands to protect members of their community. And this is all detailed in the following local news report.
As ICE action and entertainment's increase in Hillsborough, a declaration is set in stone.
State of emergency declaration passes. Resolution number 2906 is adopted.
The move comes 2 weeks after counselors took 3 hours of testimony from business owners, advocates, and even children, urging the city to respond to growing ICE activity. Bridget Cook, executive director of nonprofit Adelante Mujeres, was among those who spoke. Her group advocates primarily for low-income Latino women and families. And during this time of uncertainty in immigrant communities, they're also providing rights education and post-detention support.
Absolutely heartbreaking to see this and to see just how cruel the implications are for families who are terrified to go out, they're terrified to go to doctor's appointments, they're terrified to go to work.
Since that meeting, the city has set aside $200,000 in new community grant funding for families and businesses impacted by federal immigration enforcement. But community members continue to push for more, especially from police.
I've watched the Hillsborough PD stand by and do nothing as a woman was screaming from her car, "I'm a citizen."
Woodwood Elementary student counselor Adrian Smith shared how school staff are supporting immigrant families who feel unsafe.
We as educators are creating safe spaces for folks to get groceries and doing grocery shopping for families as ICE is hiding in grocery store parking lots.
I don't want my parents to be taken. I've watched the Hillsborough PD stand by and do nothing as a woman was screaming from her car, "I'm a citizen."
Woodwood Elementary student counselor Adrian.
Yeah, you see, look at how it's enraging people, because now some people might be saying like, well, what do you want the PD to do if like ICE is taking this person? If the lady's standing there saying, if the lady's standing there screaming, "I'm a citizen," the police could at least, right? Like, because they are supposed to be working in partnership together. So now you can't say like, oh, well, the cops can't do nothing because they be interfering with an ICE arrest. No BS. Like, they're supposed to be working congruently with each other, right? So like, if someone is screaming that, why can't, I'm sure this lady in her mind is thinking, well, why can't the officers just go over there, right? And just make sure that the lady's not a U.S. citizen, because they don't care. That's why they're not going over there. And because people can see that this lady, she clearly seems upset, right? I bet you she is a white, well, she is white, so I don't have to bet you that, but I bet you she is a liberal woman. Like, I just bet you this. She's pissed off. She's like, a lady is screaming from her car that I'm a U.S. citizen and I watch the police do nothing. Let me just tell you what this Karen would do. She looks like the type of lady that she will like slap an ICE officer, throw something at him, like allow somebody to distract him, because you can just tell that she's pissed off about it. That's why I said it doesn't matter. Now, I'm not going to say this is in one instance I think this lady is liberal. I can't tell you how many instances I knew the lady or the guy were conservative and they were pissed. They were pissed. They was like, dude, if that was me, I'd punch ICE in the face. I'm like, oh, wow. President Trump has a lot of people upset with ICE right now.
Adrian Smith shared how school staff are supporting immigrant families who feel unsafe.
We as educators are creating safe spaces for folks to get groceries and doing grocery shopping for families as ICE is hiding in grocery store parking lots.
I don't want my parents to.
See, that's too much. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Because, and this is why I say that this is why we're seeing so many American people do some of the stuff that they're doing to ICE. Because let me tell you guys, and I watched this campaign trail. I watched Kamala's too. What do you think if either side said, hey, we're going to use ICE to do this mass deportation, right? And we're going to do it the right way. Like, because they had to say that at one point, because people started to push back, right? Oh no, we're not going to go in churches. We're not going to go in schools. Like, we're not going to do things like that, right? But you're going to hide in a grocery store parking lot. You don't think that that's intrusive? It's a grocery store. Don't people have to go there to like do things like buy toilet paper? I mean, now granted, I grew up in New York, So, I mean, like, you can go to the bodega. You don't have to go to the corner store. But I'm like, what are we talking about here? Like, you got ICE agents hiding on, like, corners and, like, in supermarkets. And, like, what are we talking about here? Like, this is literally the reason why you have people busting up ICE vehicles. Because so what are you going to do? You're going to wait for a man and his wife and his 2 daughters to go buy, like, some Sazon, and then you're going to arrest them? Get out of here, bro. Like, this is the reason why you got people acting crazy towards ICE.
Ridiculous because I'm still a child.
And a work session council reviewed several proposals, including a civil and human rights office and a plan to track detained residents and impacted families with community partners. Mayor Beach Pace says for now, the declaration is mainly symbolic, but action is the goal.
The City of Hillsborough stands united in our stance against ICE. We do not want them operating here. They are deplorable, and they are treating our community members in a terrible way.
And that right there is exactly what we all need to be doing. Use your privilege to protect vulnerable people. Grocery shop for them. Speak out on their behalf if you see abuse. In more rural areas in Oregon, I've seen some local activist groups host seminars in both English and Spanish to educate members of their community about their rights and what to do if they see ICE. And that right there, that single thing is making a substantial difference. Communities are better off when they bind together. But Hillsborough isn't the only community that's taking action, because people in Monrovia, California, they also wanted to take action in response to an ICE raid at a Home Depot in their community. And even though Home Depot denies that they were...
Okay, so he said he's talking about Hillsborough, Oregon. He talks about California. I said it's happening also in New York. It's happening in Chicago. It's even happened in smaller places. Like, when people can actively see ICE about to do a raid or about to do, like, some type of sweep or pickup, you literally can see the people of the neighborhood bind together and try to, like, stop ICE. Like, whether they're recording them, whether they're setting things up, some people are throwing things at them. It's literally insane.
Involved with one particular ICE raid that led to the death of an immigrant. Activists, they still believe that is indeed the case, because for those who don't know, Home Depot's founder and CEO, huge MAGA chud, so it's not absurd to think that their stores are coordinating with ICE. But the thing is, you can't really protest inside of a private business, so they decided to protest by making themselves customers in the most amazing way possible. Newsweek reports a video shared on social media shows a long line of customers inside a Home Depot store in Monrovia, California, on Saturday waiting to purchase an ice scraper priced at 17 cents at the automatic cashiers. Many of the customers can be seen wearing stickers on their clothing reading "ICE out of Home Depot," priced at 17 cents. Possible. Newsweek reports a video shared on social media shows a long line of customers inside a Home Depot store in Monrovia, California, on Saturday waiting to purchase an ice scraper priced at 17 cents at the automatic cashiers. Many of the customers via California, they still believe that is indeed the case, because for those who don't know, Home Depot's founder and CEO.
Dude, that's crazy the way they did that at Home Depot. You guys see that lineup? So what he said, they're going to buy an ice scraper? Dude, you can't make this stuff up. All of those people lined up in Home Depot, and they have signs. Some people say no ICE, ICE out of Home Depot. Who do you think those people are? You think they're all from Colombia? You think they're all from Venezuela? No, crazy. They're American citizens. They're American citizens that are pissed off at ICE.
Huge MAGA chud, so it's not absurd to think that their stores are coordinating with ICE. But the thing is, you can't really protest inside of a private business, so they decided to protest by making themselves customers in the most amazing way possible. Newsweek reports a video shared on social media shows a long line of customers inside a Home Depot store in Monrovia, California, on Saturday waiting to purchase an ice scraper priced at 17 cents at the automatic cashiers. Many of the customers can be seen wearing stickers on their clothing reading "ICE out of Home Depot." The strategy, a post on Reddit accompanying the video says, is to return the relatively inexpensive item immediately to clog the lines and bring the store to a stop in an effort to disrupt sales and send a message against ICE raids in their community. According to the Los Angeles Times, nearly 100 people participated in the quote buy-in action. Protesters are demanding that Home Depot prevent immigration raids from taking place at its locations. While ICE agents have been spotted in Home Depots across the country, it is not by chance that protesters have picked the Monrovia store for their latest latest demonstration signs and bring the store to Astoria, California on Saturday, waiting to purchase an ice scraper priced at 17 cents at the automatic cashiers.
Oh my God, you can't make this up. Wait, why is there an ice scraper in California? I don't know. Maybe you guys do get ice out there. I've been to Cali a couple times. I've never been out there where it's ice or where there's snow. But I'm just like, an ice scraper for 17 cents. Somebody said, who said this in the chat? I think it was Jake said, what a profound protest. That's exactly what I was thinking, right? Like, I'm like, they're so aggressive with their 17-cent ice scrapers. I'm just like, dude, that's what I'm saying. It's hilarious because people are so upset about this that they're just freaking thinking about anything to do, and it's so dumb. Like Jake said, it's icebreakers the gum. LOL. Bro's talking about ice scrapers. Oh, that's what it is. It icebreakers. I saw somebody hold something up though. Dude, whether it's an actual scraper or it's a gun, it's stupid. Like, I can't, like, for people to be this mad at ice, that's hilarious to me. That's hilarious.
Many of the customers can be seen wearing stickers on their clothing reading "Ice out of Home Depot." The strategy, a post on Reddit accompanying the video says, is to return the relatively inexpensive item immediately to clog the lines and bring the store to a stop in an effort to disrupt sales and send a message against ice raids in their community. According to the Los Angeles Times, nearly 100 people participated in the, quote, buy-in action. Protesters are demanding that Home Depot prevent immigration raids from taking place at its locations. While ICE agents have been spotted in Home Depots across the country, it is not by chance that protesters have picked the Monrovia store for their latest demonstration. The protest was partly in response to the recent death of immigrant day laborer Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez, who was struck and killed by a vehicle in Monrovia as he was running away from federal agents in mid-August. And I just want to add that even if it's the case that Home Depot is telling the truth and they're not coordinating with ICE, nobody should believe them, but let's assume that they're telling the truth. By allowing ICE to remain in your facilities, that in and of itself is egregious because you have the ability to evict them from your property since this is a private business. But if you're not doing that, you are complicit. So they are right to target Home Depot. And I've got to say, what they did was amazing. This is a really clever form of malicious compliance because since they're technically customers, Home Depot doesn't have a real justification to remove them from the store. And I've got to say, these people are brilliant. The ways that people are...
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'll give it to them. Brilliantly annoying because it's crazy. Like, you actually can't, they're not allowing them to have protests, right? So they're thinking to themselves, well, what's another way that we can all gather and do this? Hence Jake's comment about a profound protest. That's why I said, I mean, it's brilliantly annoying. I can't, like, I literally can't believe this is how they came up with this. Like, I want to know who thought about it. I want to know, what do you guys think? Do you think it was a baby boomer? Was it a baby boomer, a Gen Xer, or a millennial? Like, it's one of these three generations, right? I gotta know who thought about this. It was probably a boomer. I was like, oh my gosh, man. Like, I can't. I mean, it could be somebody from the silent generation, right? Because, I mean, if they're just all in Home Depot acting like customers and they have all come together and said, hey, listen, we're going to just buy a whole bunch of ice scrapers at 17 cents, right? And make these gestures on social media, you know, to make a statement. I mean, hey, statement's been proven, right? Like, we see what they were doing with their ice scrapers. This is literally insane.
Getting innovative about how they target ICE to resist immigrant deportations and abuse is so encouraging to see. But residents of Monrovia weren't the only Californians taking action because in the Bay Area, the community came together in massive numbers to respond to Trump's threat of a surge of federal forces in the state back in late October. And a local news affiliate reports that 7,000 people registered for a Zoom call organized by a local grassroots organization called Bay Resistance. And they did this in response to news that Trump would be doing a surge in their area. And people signed up for the Zoom call to learn concrete ways to protect immigrants in their community from ICE. There were 300 people in the waiting room even before the call began. 1,000 people requested a VOD who didn't make it, and 10,000 community members subscribed to...
Overnight. Jeez, man, 10,000. And all of that came from them just hearing that President Trump is going to do a surge in their area. Yeah, you have a lot of people that are like, listen, man, if these people aren't really doing anything, I'm not okay with this. But unfortunately, oh man, it's a little bit late. You know what I'm saying? Because he campaigned on what he was going to do. He campaigned on it. He said, we're going to get them the hell out of here. They're going to go to hell home. We're going to get them the hell out of here. That's like, he campaigned on it. So Trump is not going to hold back. Like, he's not going to hold back. Of course, he wouldn't tell you the fine details of everything, right? Like, President Trump, how do you actually plan to do this mass deportation? He's not going to tell you that. He's just going to tell you, we're going to get him the hell out of here, right? And it doesn't matter how creative or how crazy he has to be. He was going to figure it out. Hence, here we are today.
Bay Resistance's mailing list so that way they could get involved. And a Patreon member that I know who was involved with this tells me that they managed to run about 100 ICE agents out of San Francisco. We call that a success, people. What's more, thousands of people signed up to do direct action on behalf of immigrants through Bay Resistance, but they weren't the only groups that gained a lot of new members. Hundreds and hundreds of people signed up for various Adopt the Corner initiatives in Oakland and San Francisco, where they'd organize on behalf of immigrant day laborers and shifts to keep watch for ICE activity so that way immigrants can continue to work and make a living. And I've got to say, I'm honestly pleasantly surprised because I just felt like I've become so cynical that I didn't expect Americans to care. But the fact that so many communities are coming through for their most vulnerable members and not just sacrificing time, but putting their bodies on the line to protect them, that to me is genuinely hope-filling. Like, seeing that is wonderful. They shouldn't have to do this in the first place, but nonetheless, it is nice to see that people do still care. There are still good people in this world. And this is especially true. You see people really come out in communities with large Latino populations especially. And I think that really speaks to how out of touch fascists are, because immigrants are very clearly valued members of their communities. Otherwise, people would not be going to bat for them this hard across the country. And we're seeing mass mobilization everywhere. In a North Carolina school district where about a third of the students are Hispanic, 30,000 students held a walkout to protest ICE activity in their community, and they made headlines. And that is a beautiful thing to see. On top of that, other members of the community took it even further with guerrilla tactics, as explained by Ariana Jasmine, where they went so far as to locate the hotels that ICE agents were staying at, and they slashed their tires in the middle of the night in order to cripple their ability to abduct people the next day. Now, I'm obligated, and they made headlines, and that is a beautiful thing to see. On top, clearly valued members of their communities, otherwise people would not be going to bat for them.
Right. This matters, right? Like, a lot of people also think that they're just going to bat. Like, are American people just going to bat for, like, any random refugee or random illegals or immigrants? Like, isn't the job of us to get them out of the country? Well, it depends on who they are. Like, he's making a great point here where he said these are probably some pretty prominent good people within the community, or else these people wouldn't be able to go to bat, wouldn't be willing to go to bat for them. Well, surely I would agree with that 100%, right? You have teachers that are willing to go to the grocery store and go shopping for families because ICE is in the shopping mart parking lot. Like, what is happening? Like, how does this even work? If you know what, I'm not gonna get into this because I'm gonna get stressed out. Because the next thing I was going to say is that, so what happens to the groceries if you take the whole family? Now you just leave the groceries in the middle of the street and whoever wants the groceries could take the groceries. ICE is annoying as hell. Like, I'm telling you right now, they are.
This hard across the country. And we're seeing mass mobilization everywhere. In a North Carolina school district where about a third of the students are Hispanic, 30,000 students held a walkout to protest ICE activity in their community, and they made headlines. And that is a beautiful thing to see. On top of that, other members of the community took it even further with guerrilla tactics, as explained by Ariana Jasmine, where they went so far as to locate the hotels that ICE agents were staying at, and they slashed their tires in the middle of the night in order to cripple their ability to abduct people the next day. Now, I'm obligated to say that I am not condoning or promoting criminal or illegal activity. I'm just kind of showing you the lengths people are willing to go to protect members of their community. And even people who aren't doing direct action or guerrilla tactics, they're still trying to do what they can to make a difference. HuffPost published a story about two brothers from Newark, New Jersey, who own a beloved restaurant in their community called Zoe's Emilio's Kitchen. But one day, reporters Roberto, pictured on the right, never showed up for work, and his brother Emilio was freaking out, expectedly so, especially because he called Roberto's wife and found out that he'd left for work hours ago, so he should have been there. So Emilio started to suspect that his brother had been kidnapped by ICE. And even though Roberto is a legal resident with a visa that doesn't expire until 2029, and he's been legally living and working in the country for 2 decades, why exactly did they target him, aside from the fact that he's brown? Well, because they made a mistake. According to him, they were apparently looking for somebody else, but they decided to just lie about his status so they could keep him in custody anyway, claiming that he entered the country illegally and that a judge had ordered his removal, which absolutely was not true and confirmed to be false by a judge. And even though they had no reason whatsoever to detain him, they did, and they denied him bond and refused to release him. And that's when the community really kicked into action. HuffPost reports residents from Roberto's small New Jersey town banded together on multiple fronts to call for his release. The situation caught the attention of Atlantic.
That's crazy. The fact that ICE just lies like that and they make this stuff up so they could keep somebody in custody. All right, Antonio, where you at? You still in the chat? One of my mods is telling me about you. What are you saying? Something probably crazy, because that's the only time they bring somebody up. So what exactly are you saying, Antonio? I think it was something about, because listen, normally I am not in my vehicle when I do my live streams. I'm there right now because I'm also at work, and where I'm at, I don't like my service. Yes, I have a flexible enough job to do what I'm doing. No, I'm not telling you what kind of car I drive. How about you guess, and then I'll tell you. If you could guess guess the make and model and the trim level, and then I'll tell you. I wouldn't say I'm in my daily driver. I'm in more like let's call it my fun car. My daily driver is actually a Jeep. It's actually a Jeep Wrangler. I'll tell you that, because Jeep Wranglers are pretty easy to spot. They are they're very distinct in how they look. Even though Broncos, I feel like, try to copy them. I think Broncos are ugly. But yeah, guess the make and model and trim, and then I'll tell you. But don't be saying shut the heck up and tell you what kind of car I drive over. Hey, bro, check this out. You better talk to me nicely in this chat. What's wrong with you? Talk to me nicely in this chat while I'm doing my morning news, bro. And I don't have no problem telling you what kind of car I drive. We just got to do it respectfully. You feel me? Let's get back into the clip.
Highlands Mayor Lori Hohenleitner, who reports residents from Roberto's small, even though they had no reason whatsoever to detain him, they did, and they denied him bond and refused to release him. And that's when the community really kicked into action. HuffPost reports residents from Roberto's small New Jersey town banded together on multiple fronts to call for his release. The situation caught the attention of Atlantic Highlands Mayor Lori Hohenleitner, who created and promoted a successful GoFundMe campaign to help Roberto obtain legal assistance. Carrie Kennedy, International Associate General Secretary at American Friends Service Committee, estimates that about
Man, he should be able to sue them. That's crazy. They're going to really talk about this like it doesn't matter. First of all, you pick somebody up who has a valid visa, and if it says until 2029, that means this is a legitimate valid visa. Like, there's a stamp that says this doesn't expire until this year, right? And they're just going to lie. Like, oh yeah, he's illegal. Why? Because he doesn't have the visa on him to show you right then and there. So you just, bro, what kind of integrity do these people have, man? It's non-existent. Like, how are you an officer of the law and you just are okay with just yeah, he's illegal, so we can hold on to him so we can find out longer. Yeah, bro, I can't.
100 people showed up at 2 demonstrations to call on ICE to release him. Community members also submitted at least 45 letters of support for Roberto to the court. And finally, after 33 days of being wrongfully detained, he was finally released from ICE custody on November 19th and welcomed back at his restaurant with overwhelming love and support from his community. And as for the GoFundMe, well, it surpassed its goal easily, and at the time that I record this video, it has reached 101,000.
Why you should never charge your smartphone at night.
2 years as a cell phone repair engineer, and I'm watching
dollars. I will link to that down. And as for the GoFundMe, well, it surpassed its goal easily, and at the time that I record this video, it has reached $101,000. I will link to that down below in case you still want to add to the pot. And again, as depressing and infuriating as it is to see the ICE Gestapo terrorize so many communities, it does give me hope to see so many people come out to defend the most vulnerable members of their community. That right there is something that it really makes you second guess, your cynicism about the world. But please don't get it twisted. This story isn't intended to be some type of feel-good story, because as nice as it is to see people have each other's backs, that doesn't change the fact that none of this should be happening in the first place. None of it. All of it is unacceptable. Both citizens and non-citizens have rights, and those rights are being violated with impunity. So it's not enough that community members are, protecting their most vulnerable, and they're successful at protecting their most vulnerable. There still needs to be actual accountability. And these Gestapo thugs who are denying these folks due process and habeas corpus, they have to be prosecuted for all of the crimes that they're committing. You cannot treat people this way. You can't treat American citizens this way, and you can't treat non-citizens this way. Our civil liberties are non-fucking negotiable. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Civil liberties are non-negotiable. They are guaranteed to each and every one of us through the U.S. Constitution. And some limp-dicked, racist brown shirt with a superiority complex who wants to be a hero doesn't get to unilaterally decide that we don't get those rights that are afforded to us by the U.S. Constitution. So, if Democrats take back power one day, it is not enough for them to just abolish ICE and move on. They need to investigate and prosecute each and every single ICE and Border Patrol agent who are committing these crimes. Anything less than that is unacceptable.
All right, shout out to Mike. He's he feels like the civil liberties, they shouldn't be touched, right? He's like, this is unacceptable. And I'll say, as long as the person is a citizen, absolutely. If a person is not, then there's a problem. And someone can say, right? And the reason why someone might be like, well, Q, why are you saying that he has a visa that is stamped until 2029? Yeah, but we have Marco Rubio, who he made it very clear months ago, and he went on a rampage when he said this was when the students in Columbia were kind of acting kind of crazy in Columbia University, and they were having problems with that one student that was protesting all of the time, and they were thinking about deporting him. Marco Rubio went on record plenty of times to say, listen, if you have a visa, that actually is not a right. It's actually a privilege. And as the United States, we reserve the right to revoke that privilege. And he didn't even stutter. He was like, I said what I said, and it's not, I'm not taking it back. And he's never changed it. So even though that this man does have a visa that's stamped up until 2029, and he can be here up until that time, there actually is no real reason for the United States to leave him here. Yes, he's here and he has a business. No, he's not a criminal. No, he's not harming anyone. But they just don't have to do it. When Marco Rubio went on record to say, a visa is actually a privilege that the United States has the right to revoke, I was like, ouch. I knew that when he said that wasn't going to play out well. So let's go to the next clip, guys. The next clip is going to be about a younger guy who's here in the United States, and he's actually a U.S. citizen. I believe he was born here, but he's going to talk a little bit about his interaction with ICE.
Can we maybe begin by you introducing yourself? So my name is Emmanuel Margot Castillo. I am 18, and I was born here in North Carolina in Orange County. And what I do is I shoot concrete for roads. and for roads and highways. And basically what we do is just keep the dirt from like falling down from the sides from so much weight being on top of the roads. So it just helps support the roads and makes the roads stronger.
And Manny, could you tell us a little bit about what happened to your wrist? I see that you're wearing a wrist brace today.
Yes. So my wrist does hurt a little bit, but what happened was I had an encounter with ice, and the cups that.
See. Yo, ice is insane. How do you have an encounter with ice and now you have a wrist brace on? Why should you have an encounter with ice and you have a wrist brace on? Okay. All right. And this is what I mean by the manhandling. This is why now you see American citizens willing to like mess ice up and mess ice stuff up because of stuff like this. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying that they're pissing people off.
That they put on me was the use of excessive force to the point that I had to be treated by the hospital for my wrist pain.
Why did they handcuff you?
They handcuffed me because I matched the description of a wanted illegal immigrant by the name of Eduardo from Ecuador.
And can you tell us about how this all went down?
So I was on the way to a job site. And my truck broke down, the work truck that they gave us. And so I pull over to the side of the road. Mind you, it's like a freeway, but it's really country, so it really don't look like a highway. So I just call it freeway. And so I pull over to the side, and I'm waiting for my boss to get there. It's been probably way over an hour. And just waiting for road assistance, and I fall asleep because, you know, after waiting over an hour in the car, I don't know if it's just me, but sleepiness gets to me. And I eventually fall asleep without even noticing. And I wake up to the sound of hearing multiple cars pull up. And when I open I haven't even opened up my eyes. First thing I hear is, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" And I respond, "Yes, I'm still, opening my eyes up like this, because I was knocked out cold." And when I open up my eyes, I look straight ahead of me, and I see 8 men running towards the woods. I don't know what they're running at, but I just see 8 men with AR-15s running towards the woods. And after that, they're asking me questions. First thing I do is I pull out my driver's license, because once I saw he was a Border Patrol agent, I'm going to show who I am. I'm let them know I'm a U.S. citizen.
So did they pull you out of the truck, or did you just get out of the truck?
So they asked me to, he asked me to hop out the car, so I wasn't finna resist anything, so I just fully compliant, got out the car, but he said, because I matched the description of a wanted person.
Were they masked like we see?
Yes, everybody was masked.
Did anybody tell you their names or anything like that?
I only have about 3 names. One was Sergeant Mills. The other one was Cooper or Carper, P442, and the other one was like Photo 420.
And they all were Border Patrol or ICE agents, were they local police? And this happened in Illinois, right?
Yeah, there was.
Yep, and they was all white. They was all white. I bet you they was. Like, it's like, dude, I love my white counterparts. Like, I love my people. I'm just saying. Like, you match the description of somebody we kind of looking for, but y'all can't tell that he don't look like that person. Yeah. They white. They all white, because only my white friends have trouble telling black people and Asian people and Mexican people. It's only my white friends. Like, for some reason, to all of us that got melanin, we know that we all look like mad different. Like, we're aware of that, right? But I don't know what kind of lens. Like, it's almost like I don't know what it is. It's like they got one lens and they just see brown. And if it's brown, it's like everybody look the same. I don't know how they do that. Like, because we already know that we all look different. But to them, we all look the same. I rest my case.
There's no police on the scene. It was just Border Patrol agents. But one of them just had like regular clothes on. And he was the one who detained me.
Did they tell you what they said you looked like a person that had a warrant out? Or just someone who was undocumented? Or Just one. That's all they said.
So I had a video, and right after the video cuts off, that's when he explains. He's like, all I wanted for what? And he said, you match the description of a wanted illegal immigrant of the name of Eduardo from Ecuador. I was like, that makes no sense. So you have my ID? And it says Emmanuel Orguel Castillo. And I told you I'm from here, North Carolina, Orange County. And he was like, well, I'm gonna have to make sure of all that, and they're still running my ID through the system, and he keeps threatening me to take me down to wherever, some jail or something. I don't know.
He's threatening you. You said he was threatening to take you to jail.
Yes. He kept threatening to take me to jail if I didn't give him all the information he wanted. Like, he was asking, where do I live? What was it? Where do I live? Where I was going? Where I was coming from? Just like very personal questions and stuff. I kept telling him, that's none of his business, but he kept threatening to take me down to jail. So that's why I was like, I'm just telling America, because I wasn't trying to go to jail or anything.
Right.
And so I told him, like, look, Orange County, North Carolina, 27217 is the zip code. I didn't know what else to say. Because I didn't have any more, documentation. The only thing I have is my license and my ID. And yeah, they're just still messing with me, had me detained. And probably about like 15-20 minutes later, one of the guys just like let him go. He came back into the system, which still made no sense because they had a picture of my face from the system on the phone before they said that.
So they already have an image of you.
Already had an image of me.
And they have seen your license.
Already had my license and ID.
And I'm wondering, what do you think would have happened if nothing had come up in their system?
I would have probably definitely not been there. I probably would have been taken somewhere else that I assume is not a police station. But yeah, I don't think I would be here right now. I get paranoid just from being in my car sitting there. Like, it looked like I get shaky just from talking about it. Because, you imagine just sleeping.
Yeah.
And all you see 8 armed men with AR-15s.
Right. With masks.
Yeah, with masks. And, first, they don't look like police. Police never wear masks.
They look like soldiers.
Yeah, they look like who they are. These people look like straight criminals. And
yeah, the guys try to say they look like it's soldiers. I was gonna say no, they don't. They look like some freaking insurgents, which that is threatening, right? That's why the young guy said, he's like, they don't look like cops. It's like, yeah, that's my question. Why don't they look like cops? Why are you wearing masks? Like, it's like, dude, we're not in COVID. Like, why are you wearing masks to like detain people? Because you guys know that people are gonna record, and you don't want your face to be on camera. What the hell? We already know all y'all white. Like, we not. That's not a secret. Like, ain't nobody worried about that, but it's just like, what is it? Because the manhandling, and you don't want to be able to be identified. That's what I think it is. I think it has something to do with that. I think a lot of people are pissed off at ICE, and I think that, because they're seeing a lot of the pushback from the actual American citizens that they didn't expect. Sometimes they're masked and they're ready to go. They're like, I don't want to be recognized. I don't want to be out with my family at a park or at a 7-Eleven, and then a bunch of illegals recognize me and like beat me up and try to take my car. So I mean, I get it, because at first I was like, what's the point of the mask? Like, it's not COVID, so what are we doing? You want to be unrecognizable. The cops aren't unrecognizable. But yeah, that's kind of crazy, which it made people nervous, right? Because if somebody's going to walk around being unrecognizable, it's like, what kind of treacherous things are they going to be allowed to do? Or what kind of treacherous things are they going to be doing? Because no one won't be able to say, oh yeah, it's that guy right there, because they have a mask on. You won't even be able to recognize or be able to, you can't point them out in a lineup. You can't do anything. So yeah, I don't like the whole mask thing at all. All right, guys, I'm going to cut this live stream short. We're going to be back on in a little bit later today, but I got some things I got to do before I head home and I get back on with you guys. So you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. It doesn't have to be a manic Monday. We choose how our days go, right? That's why every time somebody asks me, hey Q, how you doing? I'm always like, I am magnificent. Wow, magnificent? Yeah, because how I'm doing is a choice. I can choose that, right? At least mature adults, we know we can choose it. So I will be back on with you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Love yourselves. Love one another. Be peaceful. And tell somebody about Jesus. Peace.